Part 30. Participating in a love show, this little guy is too down to earth. Author, Buletin Shi Swan Shi Shui Xian. Chapter 294. Okay, let's go, let's go. It's not so much that the young woman Yao knows how to exercise discretion as she is good at skirting around the edges. She can always stop her actions before hitting the red line. Look. Seeing that Xylin was about to hold the cake on her head, her joke stopped abruptly, and she held Xylin's arm and walked in with a smile, and asked Gu Huiyan to follow. Speaking of Gu Huiyan, Zhang Yao also had a headache. The boy didn't take tonight's visit as a big deal at first glance. After he arrived, he said hello and went to eat by himself without looking for her. After all, she was the one who invited him here. If he didn't come to her, wouldn't he be making others laugh? Having said that, tonight's young lady Yao is really quite respectable. If you don't mention anything else, just mention Gu Huiyan and Xylin, two first-line celebrities. You won't be able to invite them to ordinary occasions, and they won't give face to ordinary people, but they all because Zhang Yao came here, he must have face. I don't know if it's because of this, but the young woman's Yaoshui snake-like waist twists with great amplitude and frequency. Even Gu Huiyan's eyes couldn't help but be attracted. It was at those times that Gu Huiyan would notice another gaze coming from beside him. When he turned around, he found Sister Xylin looking at him with a smile. Gu Huiyan had no choice but to retract his head angrily and look away. Sometimes Gu Huiyan also has a headache. Not only is he bound by morality, he also has to be watched. Sister Xylin is just like a mother watching her son. Gu Huiyan can't even look at her. Under the leadership of Zhang Yao, they came to the seats inside. When they came here, they felt that the quality of the people around them was much higher. It seemed that the guests here were also divided into 3, 6, or 9 grades, getting higher and higher from the outside to the inside. It is said that the class is a bit higher, but it is not higher than Gu Huiyan and Xylin. After all, this party is more like a private party, and it is good to invite big names like them. Sit down. It is worth mentioning that Zhang Yao took them to a. The table is full of fresh meat. Then that wonderful picture appeared. Sister Zhang Yao. Sister. That was the little fresh meat who was dressed more virtuous than the other. They all showed sweet smiles and greeted Zhang Yao. Of course, she will definitely say hello to Gu Huiyan and Xylin. Xylin can cope with it okay. When it is Gu Huiyan's turn, they are so thickly painted and their smile is sweeter than any other girl's. Dry autism. He wants to escape. But can't escape. It is worth mentioning that. Gu Huiyan glanced at the fresh meat on the table and found an acquaintance there. When she saw him, Gu Huiyan's eyes widened. His expression seemed to say, "Why are you here, and you have fallen to this?" That person had a low sense of existence, disappeared for nearly 100 chapters, stir-fried rice noodles with chicken essence. Zhang Shuo, Zhang PD. Gu Huiyan really didn't expect to encounter Zhang Shuo in such a situation. Doesn't he have a heavy burden as an idol? Why would he come to participate in such a situation? When Gu Huiyan saw Zhang Shuo was also looking at him. His eyes were full of disbelief, as if he was saying, "I have fallen to this point and there is nothing I can do." How come you, King Gu Tian, have fallen to this point? At that time, the two brothers looked at each other with big eyes and small eyes. They were stunned for a long time and could not hold back a word. For a moment, they actually saw something in each other's eyes. We share the same problem. It seemed like they were all coerced and lured by Zhang Yao. Finally, Gu Huiyan nodded kindly to him, and he nodded back. Zhang Yao arranged for him and Xylin to sit far away from Zhang Shuo, so the two didn't really communicate. When he was seated, Gu Huiyan finally couldn't hold back and asked Sister Xylin next to him. What kind of situation is this? Let's talk about it. Today's scene may be considered big or small. It may be said that it was a family banquet, but it was pretty good. It may be said that it was a large-scale banquet, but there were not many really high-status bosses. It looked very different, and they didn't know the theme. What is it? In particular, their table was full of young meat, which really made Gu Huiyan a little scared. You do not know. At that time, Xilan's tone was still unbelievable. She thought Gu Huiyan knew about it in advance. Ah, Sister Zhang Yao didn't tell me, she just told me that she wanted me to come to a private party. Gu Huiyan scratched his head and answered innocently. Xilan smiled. She really wanted to ask Gu Huiyan and Zhang Yao what was going on just now. There was no need to ask now. The situation must not be serious. Otherwise, how could he not even know why he came to the party? Sure enough, she should believe this innocent young brother. Today is Yao Yao's son's 10th birthday party. Xilan explained to Gu Huiyan. After hearing this, Gu Huiyan was stunned and asked why so many people were invited to a child's birthday party. Xilan said that Zhang Yao's ex-husband's family is quite powerful in the local area and can be considered a respectable family. Their family custom is to pay attention to the 5th, 10th, 15th, and 20th birthdays, so the 10th birthday must be make it big. Furthermore, the real meaning of this party is not to celebrate the children's birthdays, but to communicate among adults. You see, those who arrived today are basically the host's relatives and friends, and many of them may have cooperation in the near future. Sweep Desnay. Gu Huiyan said something like a dog, rubbed his chin, and asked them what the situation was like at this table. Xilan told him that these were all friends invited by Zhang Yao. Although she was divorced and the child was not awarded to her, she was still the biological mother of the child. At present, her ex-husband has not yet renewed their relationship. As a biological mother, she has such an important banquet as her 10th birthday. She naturally has to attend, and she also has the right to invite friends. As a celebrity, her circle of friends is also very wide. Inviting a few big names can also support the scene. There is no harm in it, and her ex-husband's family is also happy to do it. No, that's not what I asked. After listening, Gu Huiyan smiled bitterly and waved his hands. Then what are you asking? Siren still didn't seem to understand. Gu Huiyan thought for a while and simply waved to Xilan. Xilan was stunned for a moment, and a bit of dullness appeared on her delicate and pretty face. After a moment, she recovered and had no choice but to lean in with her ears. Gu Huiyan also whispered into her ear. I want to ask why this table is full of fresh meat. Gu Huiyan actually counts this table as one. Except for Xilan and Zhang Yao, almost all of them are full of fresh meat. Each one is more gorgeously dressed than the other. This development isn't quite right, is it? Pook. Xilan couldn't help laughing after hearing this. Although her manners were still very good and did not affect the people around her, her and Gu Huiyan's intimate behavior still made many people at the table look a little acid. Xilan is not Zhang Yao. She is not something that can be attached to just any young girl. Most male artists would be scared off just by seeing her aura and would not dare to look at her, let alone strike up a conversation or anything like that. But Gu Huiyan was able to speak so intimately into Xilan's ear and make her giggle, which was very enviable. The most jealous thing is that Xilan turned to Gu Huiyan's ear and whispered. I know what you are thinking. You guessed it right. You are all her harem group. Gu Huiyan. All right. Really? Everything was pretty much what Gu Huiyan had guessed. In the following chat, Gu Huiyan learned from Xilan that because Zhang Yao hated her ex-husband's family, she often liked to swear or even make excuses in public, so today she invited so many young people to come with her. Those are almost the same thing. She just wanted to tell her ex-husband how free and unrestrained she was living after the divorce. There were countless men around her, and there were a lot of them who were more handsome and younger than her ex-husband, and they changed to different ones every day. I'm pissing you off. How unhappy is her marriage? Gu Huiyan's mouth twitched. Xilan giggled and said that it was either misfortune or a delay in her great youth, and the main reason was that she really loved her ex-husband at first, but later. My ex-husband cheated on me. Not just once. Zhang Yao was also severely injured. Wouldn't it be nice to do this at the child's birthday party? Gu Huiyan scratched his head, still worried about this. You are quite delicate. Xilan couldn't help but look at Gu Huiyan and said. What do children know? They are all friends anyway, so why should we have anything just because they are a little fresh meat? That is too exaggerated. Besides, the meaning of this party itself is not about children. If you really want to throw a birthday party for your child, don't have so many people. It's enough for relatives and friends to have a meal together and chat. 2. Gu Huiyan was immediately convinced. He had nothing to do, so he started chatting with Sister Xilan. Gu Huiyan was curious as to why Sister Xilan would attend such an occasion. She said that she was here to sit in for her best friend. She liked doing things so much, so it would be nice to have her by her side if something happened. There is someone who takes care of you. He also came to calm things down for her. With her here, no matter what, her ex-husband's family couldn't make things difficult for Zhang Yao. In comparison, Xilan was more curious about why Gu Huiyan came. Gu Huiyan just said that he was invited by Zhang Yao and happened to be nearby in the past 2 days. This was a lie with open eyes. He was obviously flying specifically. Coming. Xilan obviously didn't believe it when he said these words. The meaning in her sister's eyes was particularly profound. Of course, she didn't expose Gu Huiyan, but just let Gu Huiyan explain that she didn't know anything and didn't know what kind of party this was. Not enough to see anything? Xilan smiled and nodded, but never said she believed him. That look seemed to penetrate everything. She knew very well the truth of the man's deceiving words. Gu Huiyan had no choice but to change the subject, saying that it would be a headache for the director if our male and female leading actors were not here. While the two were laughing and chatting, Zhang Yao came back not long after. It is worth mentioning that not long after she came over, her ex-husband also came over. My ex-husband's name is Shen Wei. He is obviously not from the mainland. He speaks with a strong Guangdong accent and his Mandarin is quite substandard. After seeing Zhang Yao's table full of little fresh meat, his face always looked ugly. Especially when I saw Zhang Yao exchanging cups with the little fresh meat next to me, I almost vomited blood. Even though they were divorced, Zhang Yao was just like cuckolding him openly. She was so deadly and top-notch. Especially in such a public place, with so many people watching, it is even more embarrassing. It was also because in public, there was Xilan sitting at their table, otherwise Shen Wei would have gotten angry. This ex-husband is considered to be a rich man, and he can greet everyone politely. This must have been good material for a turtle man in ancient times. But after saying hello, before leaving, he specifically called Zhang Yao to go outside. It was a coincidence, Gu Huiyan was in a hurry to urinate, and he didn't eat or drink much after he came. Now he was a little suffocated, so he almost went out with Zhang Yao. *U0026 amp, %UN #at. When I went out, I saw that the young woman Yao and her ex-husband seemed to be arguing about something. The two of them were attacking each other and hurting each other. No one was losing. Normal drama. Gu Huiyan originally didn't want to get involved, but he was really in a hurry to urinate, and the only way to go to the bathroom was through their side. Thinking that he was in a hurry and couldn't let his urine suffocate him to death, Gu Huiyan had no choice but to bite the bullet and walked out. He lowered his head and didn't want the two people to notice, but everyone was in the banquet hall at the moment, and there were few people in the corridor. You said it seems impossible that they can't see Gu Huiyan? At that time, the young woman Yao seemed to be in a quarrel. She saw Gu Huiyan coming over, hooked his arm, and said angrily to her ex-husband Shen Wei. Look, someone is more famous than you, handsome, younger than you, and has no talent at all. This is my ideal partner. What are you looking at? Yes. We slept, more than once, and we would go to bed later. We slept in your club hotel. I am very loud, you know, right? The rooms in this shabby club of yours are not well soundproofed. You know that too, right? So you'd better not arrange people to live around my room, otherwise your face will be disgraced if word spreads. Gu Huiyan. Gu Huiyan never expected that he would cause such a farce because of an urgent need to urinate. Before he could wave his hand to explain, the ex-husband gritted his teeth angrily and said to Gu Huiyan. Haha, I really didn't expect that a big-name celebrity like you would actually care about other people's leftovers. Gu Huiyan was a little unhappy when he said this. You said Zhang Yao disgusted you, so you attacked Zhang Yao. Why did you attack me? I'm just passing by in a hurry. Are you scolding Diran too? You can't take it out on others when you're angry, right? Are you so stupid? Can't you see that Zhang Yao is deliberately disgusting you? Maybe he drank some red wine while showing off the meal just now. The quality of the red wine here is good, and Gu Huiyan likes it very much. In addition, people often toast, so he drank a few more glasses. The red wine has a strong stamina, and now the wine is getting stronger. Gu Huiyan raised his hand and hooked the shoulder of the young woman Yao who was about to retaliate. He raised his eyebrows at his ex-husband and said with a playful smile. No, how do you know when we started? Shen Wei. These words. Te Niang has a lot of information. At that moment, Shen Wei felt for the first time that there was really a group of alpacas dancing on the green grassland above his head. Don't worry about your husband, even Zhang Yao was stunned at that time. How could she have thought that Gu Huiyan had such a skill? This kid has something. She also knew how to cooperate. She actually hooked her arm around Gu Huiyan's waist, leaned her head in his arms, and then said to her ex-husband with a show-off face. I'm not afraid to tell you that I spend more money than you do. When it comes to the leftovers from fun, you should be the one who gets the leftovers from my fun. Having said that, she actually kissed Gu Huiyan in front of Shen Wei. Honey, let's go. With that said, he directly hooked Gu Huiyan's arm and passed by his ex-husband Shen Wei who looked confused. Poor ex-husband, he stood at the window, watching their departing figures from a distance, messy in the wind. This. His mood is very complicated. But before he could say anything, a beautiful figure wearing a blue tube-top evening dress walked out from the corner of the banquet hall. He followed Gu Huiyan and young woman Yao as they left. Xylin, you. Shen Wei was still curious about how she came out, but Xylin didn't even look at him and just passed him by like air. Ex-husband. That is to say, even if I am a dog and a deer, I can't just be ignored. It means that Gu Huiyan originally planned to go to the toilet. But instead of letting him go, Zhang Yao dragged him into the elevator and went straight to the room upstairs. There is a room for guests to rest in the club here. Zhang Yao had just spoken harsh words to Shen Wei, and even to avoid revealing her secret, Zhang Yao would definitely kidnap Gu Huiyan into the room. So when Gu Huiyan frantically said that he had to urinate urgently and was about to come out, Zhang Yao comforted him and said, help me, help him to the end. Send him to the west. Come back to your room with me. There is also a bathroom in the room. Gu Huiyan had a headache as to how he got involved in such a mess. Why did your ex-husband provoke him when he had nothing to do? It's good now, I can't even pee. Of course, you have to say the most outrageous thing is the black line appearing on the forehead. That also includes Xylin who is following behind. Xylin followed Gu Huiyan and Zhang Yao. Before entering the elevator, she heard Gu Huiyan urgently say to Zhang Yao countless times. Come out soon. Sister. It's really coming out soon. At that time, Xylan was really surprised. What was coming out soon? What else could you two do while walking on the road? Also, just come out when you come out. Why is it so difficult to come out? Call. It wasn't until Zhang Yao's room that Gu Huiyan was finally liberated. Do you know the pain of holding in your urine? Do you know the relaxing feeling you get when you urinate after holding it all the way? However, before Gu Huiyan can fully appreciate this feeling of relaxation. Click. The bathroom door handle made a sound of being turned open, and then the bathroom door was pushed back. The young woman Yao, who had already taken off her burgundy hip-hugging skirt, kissed her face to face. So, what she said about asking Gu Huiyan to send Buddha to the West was really a fake act. Participating in a love show, this little guy is too down-to-earth. Author, Bulletin Shi Xuan Shi Shui Xian. Chapter 295. Chapter 291. If you and she can do it, then why should we? When Gu Huiyan came out of the young woman Yao's room, he was as embarrassed as last time. A young woman is really hard to coax. She doesn't get emotional with you, doesn't cry or make a fuss, she really just wants to go to bed with you. At this time, Gu Huiyan had lip marks on his face and neck, and there were even many white foundation marks on his shirt. Fortunately, the clothes he wore tonight were all black, so the lipstick marks were not visible, otherwise it would have been a big problem. At this moment, he just wants to find a place with water and a mirror to wash away the marks on his face. But what made Gu Huiyan confused was that as soon as he came out and reached the corner, he saw Xylan in a blue tube-top evening dress, standing there with her hands around her chest and her back against the wall. As if just waiting for him. I go. Gu Huiyan was frightened. No, Sister Xylan, can you stop acting like a piao? It's very scary. Gu Huiyan complained helplessly that at this time, all the guests seemed to be attending the banquet downstairs. There was basically no one in the room upstairs. Not to mention the service staff, even the cleaning staff could not be found. Zhang Yao said that the sound insulation effect here is not good, but in fact, the corridor has carpet sound insulation design, so you can basically not hear any sound when walking. Because he knew that there might be lip marks on his face, Gu Huiyan wanted to find a place to wash himself quickly and try not to be discovered. This sudden turning the corner and meeting love must have shocked him. Don't do anything bad, and don't be afraid of ghosts calling the door. Xylan still had a gentle smile on her face. She put her hands around her chest, perfectly embracing her career line. When she said this, she stood up and came closer to Gu Huiyan, and asked funnily. What, did you do something wrong? What have I done to offend? Just when Gu Huiyan was about to explain, who knew that Xylan suddenly took out her phone and turned on the camera. Gu Huiyan thought she was going to take a picture of him, and thought about raising her hand to block it. Who knew that her sister just turned on the front camera, and then turned on the phone screen. He faced Gu Huiyan. See for yourself. In the picture shown by the front camera of the mobile phone, Gu Huiyan's face and neck had red lip marks that were not clear and blurry but could be distinguished. No, Gu Huiyan quickly raised his hands to rub them with a guilty look on his face. Xylan was not angry either. She just put the phone away and told Gu Huiyan with a naughty smile. You're so young, how long did it take you to get out? Her dress had no pockets. Usually when she wears a bag for formal occasions, the staff would help her hold her phone, but now she came here holding her phone with her hands. When she said this, there was a lot of ridicule written on her pretty, exotic face, but it was obvious that she didn't often make such jokes, so her eyes were a little evasive. Sister Xylan. Gu Huiyan felt insulted by her words, and he said helplessly. You obviously know that I was forced in by her just now. Gu Huiyan was quite smart. He could tell from Xylan's words that she knew when he went in. What could she do in such a short time? Gu Huiyan can't even take off his clothes, Okay. I don't know this. I don't know if she was addicted to drama, but Zylan shook her head with an innocent expression. Her innocent and ignorant look made people want to pinch her face. Gu Huiyan had a black line on his forehead and didn't know what to say for a while. Seeing him like this, Zylan just smiled and stopped teasing him. She just handed him a few pieces of paper and said, "If you don't come out 5 minutes later, I will actually knock on the door." So the reason why she brought her phone here was to keep time. All right. Thanks. Gu Huiyan took the tissue and wiped the lip marks on his face and neck with his phone's front-facing camera, but unfortunately he didn't wipe them clean. I come. Zylan then took out another tissue, told him not to move, and wiped it for him herself. Speaking of which, it was really ridiculous that she helped him wipe the lip marks left on him by another woman. While wiping, I didn't know what came to mind, but Zylan suddenly smiled. What's wrong? Gu Huiyan thought she had discovered something again. Who would have thought that Zylan would suddenly make a complicated face, frowning, and many emotions could be read on that delicate and pretty face, including confusion, unwillingness, reluctance, and reluctance. Before Gu Huiyan asked her what was wrong, she saw Zylan pointing in the direction of Zhang Yao's room where Gu Huiyan came out just now and shouted, "If you can do it with her, why should we?" At that time, Gu Huiyan's brain shut down for a moment. At the next moment, when he looked at Sister Zylan, for the first time there was something. Dislike. Really, Gu Huiyan never thought that one day he would dislike others. But the problem is that Sister Zylan is really, too disgusting, okay. He estimated that the only person in the world who would not dislike Zylan for making such a joke was the actor Su Hao. Those were pure love warriors who should have fallen to the ground in response. It was not unusual for them to do anything. You know 8G surfing, Gu Huiyan said. I thought that when he said this, Zylan would be able to get out of the drama. Who knew that this drama queen was addicted, so she actually changed her expression to a cold expression and said again. It's okay if you're just playing for fun, but if you're serious, I advise you to stop. You are the one who should stop it, right? Gu Huiyan's groove was like a torrent of river water. In order to cooperate with Sister Zylan, he even pointed at her brain and said, "Is your mind full of bubbles when it comes to love and romance?" Zylan originally wanted to act, but as soon as Gu Huiyan said these words, "Pook." She really didn't hold back, her power was broken immediately, and she was in trouble. She giggled and said, "I'm so glad you can act with me. It's a shame you can act." Gu Huiyan rolled his eyes. Zylan smiled and said, "I just think this line fits the situation just now." Consistent with, what? Gu Huiyan was suddenly stunned when he heard this. The meaning of the line just now. If it's okay for you and her, then why do we? Probably because his attention was focused on Zylan's prank just now, Gu Huiyan didn't think about the deeper meaning of her words for a while, he just thought she was playing prank. But if you taste it carefully, you will find that the sentence has an unusual meaning when Zylan said it. Yes. If he and Zhang Yao can do it, then why can't he do it with himself? She knew that after Gu Huiyan and Pei Jingshu established their relationship, they chose to be marginalized. Her sister disdained being a third party, but there were always times when people's hearts couldn't help but move. If he has always been innocent, always in love, and always been a single heroine, then my sister would rather restrain her feelings and choose to be a bystander. But once he has an affair with another woman, Siren will think, why can't that woman be herself? It was precisely because of those moments when she was wiping Gu Huiyan's lipstick just now that she thought of these and thought of this line, so Zylan blurted out and performed the series of improvisational performances. To be honest, she really doesn't want Gu Huiyan to have an affair with Zhang Yao, not at all. After all, Gu Huiyan has always given her the impression that he is a good man. What she admires is his down-to-earth younger brother who is always a bit naive. But if he had always been a good man, would she really have no chance with him? Therefore, she hopes that Gu Huiyan and Zhang Yao will have an affair. In that case, the line just now can be truly applied. This is why she didn't knock on the door as soon as Gu Huiyan and Zhang Yao entered the room. She said that if Gu Huiyan didn't come out, she would go and knock on the door in 5 minutes. But can she really knock? She doesn't quite know either. In fact, I should be able to knock, but I don't want to knock. If I knock on the door, it is indeed honorable, but it is not selfish at all. But if she doesn't knock, she won't appreciate Gu Huiyan so much. This was selfishness, her own selfish desires, and she couldn't resist. Fortunately, Gu Huiyan came out on his own, and when she came out, she heard Gu Huiyan's voice rejecting Zhang Yao, which made her feel deeply relieved but also a little disappointed. Knew it? He is indeed a good man. This damn good man character, damn it, damn it. Not sure if he realized the connotation of that sentence just now, Gu Huiyan suddenly fell silent, staring blankly at Sister Xylin in his sight, and didn't say a word for a long time. Xylin just stared at Gu Huiyan, her beautiful eyelashes trembling slightly, her eyes blinking occasionally as if they could talk, very smart. She was leaning against the wall. At this time, whenever Gu Huiyan raised his hand to press against the wall, it would be a Waldong gesture, but Gu Huiyan did not even think about breaking the silence. Open A. Just when Xylin finally said that she was just joking and telling Gu Huiyan not to pay attention, Gu Huiyan finally showed a helpless and tired expression and said, "I'm already in enough trouble now. Sister Xylin, can you please stop making me more troubled? As a human being, you can tell whether someone treats you well or not, and you can tell whether she likes you or not." After the confession with Shang Zuoyan that night, Gu Huiyan didn't like escaping anymore and felt it was pointless. Although it was a natural opportunity, he did not choose to touch the wall or kiss her. Instead, he just turned around and stood side by side with Xylin against the wall. It's like when I was in school and was punished by the teacher for standing in the corridor if I didn't do my homework. Xylin was stunned for a moment and couldn't help but glance at Gu Huiyan with her lively eyes. In fact, from the moment she saw Gu Huiyan tonight, even though he should eat, drink and chat, she always felt that something was wrong with him. I can't tell you exactly. It just doesn't feel right. There always seemed to be something on his mind. She could guess something, but those things seemed to be Gu Huiyan's personal matters, and she couldn't bring them up. My sister always has a good sense of property. It is precisely because of this that she will never be able to do what Shang Zuoyan did, passionately forcing Gu Huiyan to admit that he likes her. This is an advantage, but it is always a disadvantage in a relationship. Keeping distance is the biggest disadvantage in a relationship at any time. Relationships need to stick together and stick together every day, okay? Is it because of Shang Zuoyan? Precisely because she knew that it was not a good thing to keep her distance all the time, Xylin simply went straight to the topic. When Gu Huiyan heard this, he was stunned for a moment and asked strangely, "How do you know?" As soon as the words came out, Gu Huiyan felt that his secret was a little exposed, and he immediately raised his hand to cover his mouth, thinking that the words were leaking. His look made Xylin laugh. She didn't know if it was because standing in high heels was tiring, but she actually took off her shoes in front of Gu Huiyan, stood aside with her bare white feet, and said, "I've watched your show." Xylin, who was wearing high heels, had a strong aura and kept strangers away. But once she took off her shoes and became a little shorter, she somehow felt less oppressive. He became approachable all of a sudden. I don't know what the situation is. I really can't explain this sensory thing. Well. Gu Huiyan sighed and hesitated for a long time. Only then did he decide to tell Xylin some of his experiences and his recent troubles. In fact, he needs to talk, he always needs to talk, but he can't tell others about his things. On the one hand, once these things are leaked, even if they are rumors, it will have a great impact on him and Shang Xuyen. On the other hand, you can't tell others about this kind of thing, right? Whoever hears this must call you a scumbag, irresponsible and indecisive. But Siren is different. In comparison, Gu Huiyan actually quite trusts Sister Xylin. There was no one in the corridor. The young woman Yao didn't know if she was really asleep. There was no movement at all in the room. It was already nighttime, and there was a window at the corner where Gu Huiyan and Xylin were. This was probably on the 8th or 9th floor, and they could see the night view outside. It's not pretty, and there's not much traffic. After all, this is a private estate. You can only see some dim street lights and green plants. The temperature was pleasant in May and the hotel was air-conditioned, so no matter how much or how little they wore, they wouldn't get cold or hot. They were chatting about Gu Huiyan's troubles at such a deserted window. During this period, Gu Huiyan also told Xylin why he came to Zhang Yao's party. Isn't it all because of Shang Xuyen? This woman is really good at causing trouble, very willful, and doesn't care about the consequences. But it seems that it is precisely because of this willfulness that she is Shang Xuyen. I don't know if it's true that I have been suppressing it for a long time and no one has talked to me. When I talk about it, it's like a surging river. Gu Huiyan knows that it's not a good thing to tell others about your troubles. Others are not your trash can. Affect other people's mood. But there are some things that cannot be stopped once the truth is told. I have to say that Xylin is really a good listener. She does not interrupt Gu Huiyan at all, and her pupils only shrink slightly even when she hears incredible things. Although I had thought that the relationship between Gu Huiyan and Shang Xuyen might be unusual, I never expected that so many things would happen between them. To be honest, she admired Shang Xuyen very much after hearing it. Maybe it was because she was also a fallen person in the end of the world. She envied Shang Xuyen for being brave and not caring about anything, so she had to be with Gu Huiyan. She could never do these things. Perhaps Shang Xuyen should be condemned from a moral perspective, but from her perspective, you will find that she is really brave. Why doesn't Shang Xuyen know about those moral things? She can continue to like Gu Huiyan like that and endure a lot of pressure, okay. Thinking of this, the tip of Xylin's nose felt sore and her eyes were a little moist. Her empathy was always so strong. To be honest, I'm quite afraid of getting her answer now. It means that our life may be on thin ice in the future, but she will definitely give me that answer, and that day is not far away. Gu Huiyan put his hands around his chest, and his eyes were inexplicably deep. He was dressed very exquisitely tonight, and he really looked like an emo male god. He didn't look at Xylin. He knew that Xylin was looking at him, but he still continued to talk to himself. So I was quite scared when you said what you just said. The sentence just now in his mouth naturally refers to what Siren said, if you and she can do it, then why do we? This sentence really scared Gu Huiyan. Gu Huiyan doesn't need to substitute Zhang Yao for the she in this sentence, but if he substitutes Shang Xuyen, Sister Xylin will not feel inconsistent in saying this. If Gu Huiyan and Shang Xuyen can do it, why can't Xylin do it? But just Shang Xuyen and Gu Huiyan are enough of a headache. Add in Xylin, will you still let Gu Huiyan live? So. Xylin's expression is very complicated. It does contain the unwillingness, reluctance, and resentment from before, but also a bit of resentment and sadness. The same. She also has a restraint that is unique to her. A strand of her hair was scattered around her face at some point, adding a bit of broken and messy beauty out of thin air. She said, "You always knew your sister liked you, right?" When she said this, like a famous scene, a tear suddenly fell from the middle of her eyes. That scene is really amazing, just like those crystal tears. Most people's tears drip from the cheeks or corners of the eyes, but my sister's tears drip from the middle of her eyes, like bags under her eyes. Full of tears, overflowing. One sentence directly made the atmosphere stagnant and awkward. Xilan's tone was very calm, without any complexity like her expression, not even sad. This made people wonder if her tears were just moved by Shang Zuoyan. But what she said was very clear. What if you know? So what if you don't know? Gu Huiyan looked like a scoundrel at that moment. He lowered his head and said, Sister Xilan, I am not worthy of your love. You deserve someone better than me. For a moment, Gu Huiyan recalled the question Shang Zuoyan asked him. If she falls into the arms of another man in the future, gets married, and has children with someone else, will he be okay with it? When this sentence was applied to Xilan, Gu Huiyan thought, he might also say without hesitation that he couldn't see a little bit. Gu Huiyan was very glad that he did not tell such details to Sister Xilan, otherwise he would have asked this question if he was as smart as her. Xilan originally wanted to say something. After all, that was all she had to say, but when she looked at Gu Huiyan's puzzling expression, she thought of his original intention of talking to her tonight, and what he was facing. Things, and my absence tonight. Feeling a little distressed again. Mature sisters are always good at taking care of others. She was thinking at this moment, should she really stop causing trouble to Gu Huiyan? So. Finally. She said nothing. Remained silent. Posted back to the wall. However, before Gu Huiyan could feel grateful to Xilan for her understanding, a gust of fragrant wind came over, and Gu Huiyan suddenly felt that his chin and face were being held with both hands and forced to the right. Well. Then, Siren kissed her like this. At that moment, Gu Huiyan's mind was in a daze. He had so many things to complain about and wondered, was this an idle drama? Why couldn't anything be solved with just a kiss? So what's so good about kisses? Let's get into the high-energy plot right away. It won't drag on this time, just enter naturally. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Participating in a love show, this little guy is too down to earth. Author, Buletin Shi Swan Shi Shui Xian. Chapter 296. When they returned to the main banquet hall, Zhang Yao's Sunanan came out to cut the cake and blow out the candles. When Gu Huiyan and Xilan returned to the dining table, no one noticed anything unusual. It was just that their chat was not as lively as before. But I don't know why, even though they spoke less, it felt like the distance between them had narrowed a lot. Have you heard of the saying that female celebrities marry into wealthy families? Seeing her ex-husband and her children blowing out candles and cutting cakes from a distance, and handing them to the close guests, Xilan couldn't help but ask Gu Huiyan this way. Of course I've heard of it. Gu Huiyan picked up the water in the transparent cup and took a sip. There are very few women in this world who would not want to be the rich wife of a wealthy family. A wealthy family is not only rich in money, but also has various connections. It not only symbolizes the future of food and clothing, but also symbolizes identity and status. Celebrities in the past were no better than they are now. In the past, they were just actors. No matter how many fans you had and how many people liked you, in essence, at most, you were more famous and could take on more work. In front of capital, he is no more than a clown or a plaything. Therefore, in the past, many female stars, after they became famous and were still in their prime, wanted to join a wealthy family and achieve class transformation. At least if you marry into a rich family, you can live a comfortable life even if you don't work anymore. Yao Yao often joked with me before she got married, saying that she married into a wealthy family. There seemed to be a bit of nostalgia in Xilan's eyes, and she said with a smile. But in fact, this kind of thing was no longer popular at that time. Things are definitely different now than in the past. Nowadays, celebrities can make so much money. After making enough money, anyone with a bit of business acumen will be ready to transform themselves into capital. So isn't it better to become capital yourself than to rely on others? Furthermore, many female celebrities actually did not live a good life after marrying into wealthy families, and they basically left them later. Being a celebrity sounds glamorous, but it is always accompanied by all kinds of rumors. Marriage should be private, and a marriage in the public eye is destined to have no good results. So in the years when Zhang Yao got married, marrying into a wealthy family was actually no longer popular. I remember she seemed to say it was true love. Gu Huiyan scratched his head and smiled, suddenly thinking of the conversation she had with him when he first met Zhang Yao in Hainan. Right. Xylin couldn't help but smile when she mentioned this and said, Shen Wei's family is not actually a wealthy one. He is nearly 10 years older than Yao Yao. Yao Yao was still popular at that time. Marrying him at that time was not true love. What are you doing for him? Zhang Yao was also one of the 4 little beauties back then. At this point in the conversation, she actually made another joke and said, Is it because he is old? Is it because he doesn't take a shower? Sister Xylin, that's enough. The memory of the dead suddenly began to attack Gu Huiyan, and Gu Huiyan couldn't help but think about when did Sister Xylin become a bad joke king. Haha, just a joke. Xylin covered her mouth and smiled. Just then Zhang Yao came back, dragging little Anan who had cut the cake over to give Xylin a cake to eat. Thanks. Xylin prepared a birthday gift for him. It couldn't be said to be expensive, but it was just a camera worth hundreds of thousands of yuan. 10-year-old Anan is in 4th grade and will go to 5th grade after the summer vacation. Children of this age are actually already developing mentally. Children in the internet information age generally mature quickly and know a lot, so even if they can also handle things like cameras very easily. What's more, what Xylin bought was not a more complicated SLR, but just a full-frame mirrorless camera, so it was not that difficult to get started. Thank you, Aunt Xylin. This guy is old and smart. He looks very much like Zhang Yao, with big eyes, a pointed nose, and very sharp facial features. Several people around him happened to have prepared gifts for him, which made Gu Huiyan a little overwhelmed. He didn't know it was a child's birthday before he came. He didn't expect this. So he called Zhang Nuan and said, You go out and buy me a set of oral arithmetic cards. As soon as these words came out, puff. It makes the people around you laugh out loud. Ding, the host has successfully grounded himself and gained exposure, and the points are at 91x20. Little Anan originally liked Gu Huiyan. Children all listened to his reverse war, and he was considered a close friend of the children. But a verbal arithmetic question card was given to this kid, so he dragged Zhang Yao and walked away, fearing that if he stayed in front of Gu Huiyan for a second longer, he would have to answer more questions. It is worth mentioning that Zhang Yao is quite serious in front of children. She only introduces politely to every friend and never does anything excessive. She may not be a good wife, but she's certainly a good mother. Looking at Zhang Yao who was greeting her friends with her son, Xilin's eyes showed a bit of yearning and she said with a smile. She always complained that she wasted her prime years of youth and that when she came back, there would be no role suitable for her. But you see, she also has a very cute son. Xylin seems to like children quite a lot. Gu Huiyan knew this when she was in Yunnan. When Ayao's younger brother Xiao Awan came, she always brought him all kinds of food. She also gave him milk from sponsors. I don't know how many boxes. When I was filming in Yunnan last week, there were times when Gu Huiyan finished work at night and went to the village to play basketball. She would play games with the children in the village when she had nothing to do. These are all traceable. Many people bought gifts for little Anan tonight, but Xylin seemed to be more attentive. A camera is indeed the best item to record life. Do you like children very much? Gu Huiyan asked subconsciously. Xylin was stunned for a moment and couldn't help but turn her head to look at Gu Huiyan. Her eyelashes were long and trembling slightly, and her eyes seemed to have a different charm. I don't know if it's because there was a confession round just upstairs, but Xylan was able to say it quite easily at this moment. It doesn't matter if I like it, no one wants to have sex with me. In fact, these words are somewhat suggestive. When a girl says this, especially a goddess like Xylan, the man opposite her will definitely have to say, "I'll give birth to you." What a pity, what a pity. Gulalu was just too constrained. He smiled bitterly and said, "Giving birth is painful. What can you do without paying a price?" Xylan shook her head and said with a smile, "It is a life after all." Gu Huiyan nodded, feeling that there was nothing wrong with what he said. Seeing that Gu Huiyan was silent and had no intention of continuing, Xylan became interested and said with a smile, "Do you know how female celebrities like us usually choose when it comes to life events?" Gu Huiyan shook his head after hearing this. For a goddess like Xylan, who is perfect in the eyes of fans, if she actually chooses to get married, no matter who the man is, most fans really can't bless him. So actually getting married is unlikely. As for the others, Gu Huiyan really didn't understand them. Xylan chuckled lightly, and then said in an understatement, "Ordinary, it must be like Yao Yao. Find someone with good conditions, marry yourself, have a child and live a normal life. Even if you get divorced, you will still have a child, so that you won't end up alone in the future. Those who are more low-key and sober, such as those who don't like to rely on men and just want children, will find a good person to make an agreement, get married openly and openly, give birth to children in a low-key manner, and then divorce in a low-key manner. The child is in trouble." "What about the more complicated ones?" Gu Huiyan asked. Xylan glanced at Gu Huiyan after hearing this, and then asked a topic that was quite unexpected to Gu Huiyan in a teasing tone. She says, "Have you ever heard of having a child through surrogacy?" Ga. Gu Huiyan was so confused at that time that he didn't even understand the pronunciation of "ah," so he pronounced it as "ga." All three views are shattered, okay. But it seems Gu Huiyan had indeed heard of such a thing. Don't make such a fuss. The intellectually mature sister must have experienced strong winds and waves. She smiled and explained to Gu Huiyan. You just said that giving birth is very painful, and it has a great impact on women. I don't need to say how important body shape and status are to a female star. If you don't need to give birth by yourself, you can still, if you have the choice of having your own child. Why don't you think a female star who is not short of money wouldn't choose it? What he said to Gu Huiyan was a bit pointless to refute. Siren also chimed in and said, so many female celebrities choose to freeze their eggs so that they can use them when they need children in the future, just in case of emergencies. It was as if she was giving Gu Huiyan popular science today. Gu Huiyan had heard about these things most often through videos, but he had never heard them in such detail. Gu Huiyan was shocked for a long time before he recovered. After a while, he only said a classic saying. Juan is such a mess. Pook. Xylan smiled and couldn't help but said. Don't act like you're not from this circle. Gu Huiyan did not refute. It is precisely because he is in this circle that he understands how much the circle is like a big dye vat, with countless temptations of all kinds of flowers and flowers. So Sister Xylan, you have. There was a lot of chatting tonight, so Gu Huiyan would always subconsciously ask about things he was curious about. Are there any frozen eggs? He asked. Xylan was smiling at the time. When she heard this question, her smile froze for a moment, and then immediately returned to normal. She did not answer Gu Huiyan immediately. Instead, she stretched out her jade hand to pick up the red wine on the table, brought it to her lips, and sipped it gently. Take a sip and say. You guess. I cannot guess it. On the one hand, Gu Huiyan felt that her sister was too proud to do such a thing, but on the other hand, she felt that she was so sensible that it was normal even if she did such a thing. Who doesn't think about their future? Xylan still didn't answer, but asked in a different way. Well then, if it were me, which one of those choices would I choose? You definitely wouldn't choose to have a child through borrowed pregnancy. Gu Huiyan directly denied one for Xylan, not because it was not good news and would damage her image, but according to her understanding of Siren, even if the bloodline is her own, she will definitely not be able to regard the children born by others as her own. She loves life and likes to experience life. She has played various roles and learned various skills. Gu Huiyan does not believe that she is not interested in experiencing pregnancy in 10 months. She is not afraid of pain. I didn't expect you knew me quite well. Xylan smiled bitterly and slightly lifted the messy hair on her temples. She didn't show off here, she just looked up at Gu Huiyan with bright eyes and said, I would choose the one that is low-key and sober. She is very determined, or rather she has always been so determined. What Gu Huiyan and Shang Xuoyan will never learn is Xylan's determination. She was able to clearly keep the distance between Gu Huiyan and Pei Jingshu when they were in love, and she would keep it no matter how reluctant they were to let go. She was also able to always have her own choices when it came to major events in life. As she said, find a good person to make an agreement, get married openly and openly, give birth to a child in a low-key manner, divorce in a low-key manner, and have a child. It seemed like something she would do. Do you really just want a child? Gu Huiyan followed her words and asked, and Xylan said in a funny tone. If it were you, I would definitely choose the ordinary one, but it's not you anyway, so being a single mother is fine. To be honest, Xylan felt quite relaxed after tonight's confession round, and she could say some things without any worries. Gu Huiyan would definitely not be stupid enough to accept Xylan's words, so he simply remained silent. Xylan, on the other hand, was hesitant to speak. But in the end, those words were not spoken. It just feels like Gu Huiyan has been having a headache lately, so it's better not to cause trouble for him. In the second half of the banquet, someone went up to sing. It was a very dynamic dance song. Someone danced in the middle of the banquet hall. Gu Huiyan did not dance, but watched others dance with admiration. At those times, Xylan was by his side, wearing a black suit. He is quite delicate but smiles like a silly roe deer. He feels very at ease. It was already very late when it ended, almost 11 o'clock after 10 o'clock. It is indeed possible to stay here, but those who choose to stay are close relatives, friends like Gu Huiyan and others, who are usually arranged to stay in hotels outside. Zhang Yao tried to persuade her to stay, but Gu Huiyan had a headache when he saw her and ran away. She really never concealed her intention to eat Gu Huiyan, and even licked her lips at Gu Huiyan. I don't know if she knew why Gu Huiyan was threatened by Zhang Yao, but Xylan was no longer angry. Instead, she looked at the two of them with a smile, as if they were watching a show. Not long after, Xylan's car arrived. Do you want to come together? Since both hotels were booked by the host, Xylan and Gu Huiyan stayed in the same hotel, so there was no problem in taking a car back home. Okay. Gu Huiyan got in the car without thinking much. He and Xylan were actually not that afraid of being filmed. After all, the two of them had been filming together recently, and even if they were filmed, fans would take the initiative to help explain. As long as we don't discuss luminous scripts in a room at night, it's basically not a big problem. The Xylan car is quite interesting. There is a barrier between the driver's seat and the back seat. The staff and driver sit in the front, but they sit in the back and basically cannot hear each other's conversations. The sound insulation effect is very good. So Xylan didn't shy away from anything when she spoke, and even asked. So have you decided what to do with Shang Xuoyan? They will both return to the set tomorrow, and Shang Xuoyan may be here just in the past few days, and the answer he has been struggling with for so long will finally come to fruition. Xylin is a person who is used to making plans down to the smallest detail, and she wants to take care of Gu Huiyan's worries. To be honest, Gu Huiyan was very glad that after hearing what happened to him, Xylin did not dislike him but listened to him from the perspective of a friend and helped him. I do not know. To be honest, Gu Huiyan is quite afraid of the Shuro field. Once the Wan Lenger appears, it will be very deadly. When I read the novel, it was thrilling and scratching my head. In real life, it would be even more cruel than in the novel. What's more, they are all stars. The star's Shuro field is accompanied by the audience. Paper can't stop the fire. Once you decide to follow Shang Xuan, sooner or later there will be a day of Shuro field. But to be honest, Gu Huiyan, who is now a fish meat, seems to have no right to choose, right? He was almost lying flat now, a fish. At this time, Gu Huiyan remembered what Shang Xuan said that night, saying, "Only bad, no good. In fact, there should be some. At least Shang Xuan will be happy, not so sad, and will regain her power." So recently Gu Huiyan tried to make himself think more about good things. It's just that Gu Huiyan never expected that his Shuro field would have already, before he decided to go with Shang Xuan. Coming soon. Shishi. Just when Gu Huiyan was dazed, and when Xylin was thinking about how to comfort him, the car that was turning suddenly shook violently. The violent braking sound can be heard clearly even in a business car with such good sound insulation. Ah! The violent inertia pulled Gu Huiyan and Xylin towards the left car door, and their bodies were hit against the car door almost instantly. Careful! Gu Huiyan reacted quickly and quickly hugged Xylin. She was sitting on the right side. If she had hit her directly on the left just now, she would have been injured. At this time, the importance of wearing seat belts was realized. They were sitting in the back seat, so they did not wear seat belts, otherwise they would not have flown out. Of course, now is not the time to care about this. Because right after, bang! With a muffled sound, the left side of Gu Huiyan's position seemed to have been hit by a car. The car door suddenly pushed up, and Gu Huiyan's arm. It happened to be where the car door was hit. Hiss! A sharp pain swept through Gu Huiyan's mind in a short period of time, making him unable to even scream at the first moment, and he only had time to let out a gasp. The car was so chaotic at the time that no one noticed that Gu Huiyan's hand was injured, and because of the impact, the vehicle finally stopped. "Are you okay?" "Huh." Xylin looked a little embarrassed. Her hair was messed up because of the accident just now, and she was no longer as elegant and calm as before, but she immediately went to ask Gu Huiyan how she was in a panic. This accident came too suddenly. The sudden arrival disrupted Gu Huiyan's originally unstructured plan. Same. It also allowed the so-called Shuro field to arrive quietly without any sound. This time it's really here, I won't whet your appetite anymore. Participating in a love show, this little guy is too down to earth. Author, Buletin Shi Swan Shi Shui Xian. Chapter 297. It's okay. Sister Xylin, how are you? Gu Huiyan subconsciously waved his hand and said it was okay. He just felt pain for the first time, but soon he stopped feeling it. He thought it was nothing. When people are injured, the brain has a stress response, and sometimes you will not feel it at the first time. Pain. I'm fine. Because Gu Huiyan hugged Xylin just now, nothing happened to her. Instead, Gu Huiyan became her flesh pad, which made her feel very sorry. But now is not the time to say thank you. Sister, are you okay? Soon, the assistant opened the car door and asked about their situation. We're fine, what's going on? Xylin was a little confused but not too panicked. The assistant explained that the car had a flat tire when they were turning a corner. Although they passed through the green light, a car that ran through the yellow light came over and happened to collide with them. At this time, the driver was negotiating with the owner of the opposite car, so he called the insurance company immediately. "You guys, don't get out of the car." The assistant wouldn't let them get out of the car. They were all A-list stars, and the slightest sign would be easily fabricated. A car accident could be the top trending topic. This kind of popularity is not necessarily a good thing. Xylin originally wanted to say yes, of course she understood, but at this moment. "Sister Xylin." Gu Huiyan suddenly called her in the car. When she turned around, she found Gu Huiyan covering her arm with a painful expression on her face, saying, "My hands look like." What's wrong? Didn't you say it's okay?" "Ah." But seeing that Xylin, who had kept her sense just now and was about to close the car door, immediately panicked at that moment. Not only did her hair get messy and she didn't care about it, she even burst into tears. From Gu Huiyan's perspective, he could see her quickly moving over to see how his arm was doing, but she didn't dare to touch it for fear of getting hurt. "Where is the hand, mobile phone? My mobile phone." She looked for her cell phone on her body, but couldn't find it. She started looking around in the car, and even forgot that her cell phone was never on her body and there was no place to put it on her body. Gu Huiyan had never seen Sister Xylin in such a panic. Quick! Call an ambulance." She called to her assistant. At this time, there were people watching nearby, and there were also people watching outside. This street was not really remote, so there were quite a lot of people. Eating melon and watching the excitement is always a habit that Chinese people cannot give up. Because Xylin was dressed very gorgeously, even if it was already nighttime, she could still be seen clearly outside, so some people would take pictures with their mobile phones. They probably didn't recognize Xylin, but they just thought this woman was so beautifully dressed. "What's wrong? Didn't I just say?" When the assistant came over, he also said, "Didn't I just say that we should pay attention to the impact?" As a result, before she could finish her words, she heard Xylin yelling at the top of her lungs in the car. "Call an ambulance." The assistant was immediately stunned. She has been working with Xylin for several years. It is not that she has never had accidents before, and she has not seen strong winds and waves. She has never seen Xylin in such a panic, breaking her defenses, and disregarding her image. And it was also because of the shout she made when she turned around just now. "Hey, that seems to be a star. I recognize her. Is it Siren? Oh my God." Many people outside recognized her. Then I took out my phone. Click, click, click. Crazy photo taking. When others have a car accident, they watch. When a celebrity has a car accident, they even want to record it. But Xylin didn't have any intention to hide her feelings at this time. The valuable evening dress she was wearing was on the ground and was very dirty. She didn't care at all. She put on a suit jacket and took her mobile phone to call 120. To be honest, their celebrity status means that under normal circumstances, they cannot make such calls casually. It is equivalent to exposing you to the public eye, and anyone can take pictures of you. But now Xylin can't care so much. Calling an ambulance is the best way now. It is only true that Gu Huiyan is safe. "Sister Xylin, I have nothing to do." Gu Huiyan originally wanted to be brave and say that he was fine and there was no need to call an ambulance. There were so many people watching and they were all celebrities, but halfway through his words, he felt a little dizzy for some reason. He only remembered hitting his hand, not his head. Why is this a bit dizzy? And getting more and more dizzy. The dizziness is getting more and more complete. At the end, Gu Huiyan's vision went dark and he immediately became confused. The last scene in front of him, he remembered, was Sister Xylin running in from the car in a panic, crying as if for something, hugging him and feeling sad. Those who didn't know thought he was gone and Sister Xylin was the widow. A plant. At the last moment, Gu Huiyan couldn't help but want to complain about the plot. As a bastard with a system, he would get into a car accident. It was so embarrassing. I've never seen a male video that abuses its host so much. Jiao. Same day. Late at night. Hashtag Gu Huiyan Xylin had a car accident on her way back from attending a private banquet. Hashtag Gu Huiyan was in a car accident and was hospitalized in a coma. His current condition is unknown. Hashtag It is reported on the internet that Gu Huiyan was carried into an ambulance covered in blood and is now being rescued in the hospital. Hashtag Xylin smashed the paparazzi's car. Hashtag A variety of related terms have occupied the top of the hot search lists on major platforms in a direct bombing gesture. As the current king of the music industry, one of the top A-listers, and one of the most influential figures in domestic entertainment in the past year, Gu Huiyan's traffic has never been low. Wherever he is, there are always discussions on various topics. Recently, Hello Life Partner has been launched. New variety shows, new works, and the frequency of work that he is familiar with have kept him at the forefront of the news. Recently, it has often been reported by Reuters that he and Xylin were filming in Yunnan. No one expected that he, who was originally a frequent user of hot searches, would suddenly top the list of hot searches on various platforms in a very strange posture tonight. What the hell, I'm so fake. This is too sudden. Is Laolu okay? It's unlikely that he's fine. Didn't they say he was carried to the hospital covered in blood? What the hell is going on? The comment areas under relevant entries on various platforms were all abuzz. Even though it was already late at night, there were still countless netizens rushing to comment. In just 10 minutes, the number of clicks on Douyin alone exceeded 100 million. Breaking 100 million in 10 minutes. This kind of click volume is terrifying all over the world. And this may just be the limit of platform statistics, not Gu Huiyan's limit. Today, Gu Huiyan has long won a large number of fans across the internet because of his high frequency, high quality and popular works, most of which are true fans, and some people regard his sunny day as their youth. Who can not care about such a talented artist who is still in his youth, on the rise of his career, and continues to produce more and better works for everyone? No one can imagine how worried the fans were. Some fans in Guangdong even asked in the comment area if anyone knew which hospital Gu Huiyan was in. After asking, they spontaneously ran to care for him overnight. But probably because of the inaccurate location, many people went to the wrong place. This caused the flow of people in various large hospitals throughout Guangdong to skyrocket tonight. Some of the hospital staff on duty were confused. What the hell is going on? Maybe it was because the gimmick of Gu Huiyan's accident was too great. Everyone was only concerned about him and even forgot to pay attention to the way a netizen photographed Xylin hugging him in a panic. But when you think about it, it's actually normal. Anyone would be anxious at that time, so don't worry about so many details then. Sister Pei. It was really thrilling to eat this melon tonight. Many people wanted to care and do something for Gu Huiyan, but they didn't know what to do. As a result, a group of anxious netizens went to various platforms to go crazy at Pei Jingshu. Or you can go to the comment area of Pei Jingshu's various platforms and comment below. Sister Pei, something happened to No 6. Do you know that? Stop sleeping, can you sleep? I can't even sleep. It's good that something happened. Sister Pei is now famous and has no owner. He. Don't force labor and management to scold you at this time. Some people even said some sarcastic words at this time, which many fans did not expect. Fans of the Gu Huiyan family usually don't seem to have much fighting ability. After all, they have bags under their eyes, which is all funny. But once something goes wrong, everyone will take the blame. If anyone dares to make a mistake at this time, he will be scolded directly and dare not open the software. It was already around 2 o'clock in the morning. At that time, Pei Jingshu, who was in Chongqing, had already rested. In fact, the pace of work has slowed down recently, and she has finally been able to adjust her schedule and take a good rest. She hopes that Gu Huayan will never write songs for her again. The song meet has kept her busy since last year. She plans to visit Gu Huayan next week, so she must adjust her condition and not let him see the dark circles under her eyes. I noticed that the hot searches were for Pei Jingshu's 2 assistants. It was a bit late to finish work today. I was busy communicating with the brand in the evening. There was a problem with the endorsement of a piece of clothing. I spent a long time on the phone with them. As soon as she finished cleaning up and was about to go to bed, one of the assistants suddenly saw that on Pei Jingshu's various platform accounts, there was suddenly hundreds of thousands of comments. At that time, my assistant was a little confused. That was hundreds of thousands. Although the number of comments on Pei Jingshu's various platform accounts usually continues to increase, there has never been such a sudden increase, right? Curious, she clicked in to take a look. It didn't matter if she didn't take a look. She was shocked when she saw it. She noticed Gu Huayan's car accident online through comments. Then he almost jumped up and hurriedly put on his shoes to go out. What's wrong? The other assistant was also shocked when he saw this, and when he learned the truth, he was also panicked. The two of them split into 2 groups, one went to inform Pei Jingshu, and the other went to inform Pei Yat. The assistant who first discovered this incident ran to Pei Jingshu's room and banged on the door. Pei Jingshu, who was drowsily asleep, was woken up by the knocking on the door. She was actually a little angry, but she didn't have time to express her anger. He was frightened by the information about Gu Huayan's car accident that his assistant was chirping to him. What's going on? Perhaps because she hadn't woken up yet, Pei Jingshu thought it was a dream, and she even secretly pinched her bluish-white leg with her index finger and thumb. The severe pain made her realize that this was not a dream, but reality. Next moment. Go. Her whole body was panicked, her delicate and pretty face was full of panic, tears were flowing out uncontrollably, worry, anxiety, and other emotions gathered on her face in an instant. At that moment, she couldn't even find something, his hands were trembling. No one knew her mood at the moment. She didn't want to stay here for a second. She wished she could fly to Gu Huayan immediately. Pei Jingshu. At this moment, Pei Yat arrived late in her pajamas. She ran over and grabbed Pei Jingshu's wrist, trying to stop her from panicking and shaking, and said, "I know you're anxious, but don't be anxious yet. We can't go there now. The fastest flight is tomorrow morning. You go back and have a good rest first." When Pei Ya said the words "have a good rest," she felt a little regretful and wanted to give herself a big competition. How could Pei Jingshu have a good rest when MD Gu Huayan was in a car accident and her life or death was uncertain? Really? Why should I rest? Let's drive, huh? Let's drive there. All Pei Jingshu could think about was rushing to Gu Huayan, but her assistant told her, "It takes more than 30 hours to drive from here. It's better to wait for the flight tomorrow morning. The plane is like this, let alone the train. After all, they are across provinces and are very far away. But..." Pei Jingshu was at a loss and jumped on the spot anxiously. To be honest, even if she knew she couldn't reach it by car, she would rather sit in the car. Are you asking her to wait in the hotel at this time? How can it be? Pei Ya also saw that her sister was anxious, so she didn't say anything sarcastic at this time. Instead, she said in a responsible manner, "In this case, let's book the flight first, and we'll pack our things immediately and go to the airport to wait." She understood Pei Jingshu's current mood very well. Only on the road would she not be so anxious. Well. In the middle of the night, the assistants began to pack their things. Pei Jingshu and Pei Yat also changed their clothes as quickly as possible, called the driver and went straight to the airport. The earliest flight from Chongqing to Guangzhou was at 6:26 in the morning. It was only around 3:30 when they arrived at the airport. No one knew how Pei Jingshu spent those hours. She kept crying, keep crying. In the meantime, she made several calls to Gu Huiyan's assistant and asked about Gu Huiyan's situation many times. When I first heard that Gu Huiyan was still in the operating room, God knows how worried Pei Jingshu was. Even though it was later heard that he was fine and had just a fractured left hand and some minor concussion and trauma, and that he had come out of the operating room, Pei Jingshu was still worried and still cried. To be honest, she has never wanted to be with Gu Huiyan as much as she does now. There is no moment like this moment when I feel that the distance between them is so far. Elder sister. While waiting at the airport, she even said to her agent sister Pei Yat, I don't want to work anymore. I don't want that much work anymore. I don't want anything. Wow. It was because of so much work that they were separated and often couldn't see each other. Now even if he had an accident, she couldn't go to him immediately. She can't live a day like this anymore. Well. Pei Ya comforted Pei Jingshu helplessly. One thing she was embarrassed to tell Pei Jingshu was that because Gu Huiyan had an accident today, Pei Jingshu had to rush to accompany him. They temporarily turned down a few important people. Work. And if Pei Jingshu continues to be willful and stays with him, the breach of contract that she may face later will be quite serious. Crotch ran, she will definitely not tell Pei Jingshu this. Because she knew very well that even if the contract was terminated, Pei Jingshu would not be able to do anything in the past few days. She has never been a willful girl, but who made the old man so important to her? Whoa! Pei Jingshu was still crying. There were no people around in the early morning, and there were no cameras that would be afraid of her. It was almost dawn at 6 o'clock, and people would come to catch the plane at that time. I was quite surprised when I recognized her, and people began to secretly take pictures of her. That morning, Pei Jingshu also posted a hot search called Hashtag Pei Jingshu burst into tears at the airport. Hashtag. There is also concern in the comment area below, with many people saying, I feel so distressed. I've never seen Sister Pei cry. My friend works at the airport over there. She said that Pei Jingshu arrived at 2 or 3 in the morning and she never stopped crying. So what's going on with old Six? That night, the entire internet was worried about Gu Huiyan, but so far, no news about Gu Huiyan had been released. In fact, it stands to reason that Gu Huiyan's injury was not serious and he should have sent a message to tell everyone immediately. But after all, he was an artist. Since they occupied public resources, he had to figure out how to use them. Therefore, the response must be sent after the team's public relations plan is released. Therefore, no one knows what Gu Huiyan's condition is, whether he is seriously injured or not, and everyone is worried. Seeing Pei Jingshu crying like that at the airport, they became even more worried. At this moment, Pei Jingshu didn't know what she was about to face, let alone what she would be waiting for after staying up all night and rushing to the airport early in the morning to catch the earliest flight to Guangzhou. Although she is a rich girl, she rarely cries and has always been strong, but she didn't know how many tears she shed throughout the night. Occasionally, I wonder, isn't there a time when these tears will dry up? She really thought that her tears were about to dry up at this moment. I never thought it might be just the beginning. Participating in a love show, this little guy is too down to earth. Author, Buletin Shi Swan Shi Shui Xian. Chapter 298. Chapter 294, Losing Light, I have a bad feeling. Woo 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 woo. Do not misunderstand. It's not who is crying. but the sound of wind. If someone was really crying, Gu Huiyan would have to wonder if he was the one. When Gu Huiyan opened his eyes in a daze, the first thing he saw must be the pure white ceiling. The next sense he experienced must be his ears. At that time, Gu Huiyan heard the news about the boss. It's not like a fan, which is temporarily unavailable in May. The sound is more like a strong wind blowing outside. The leaves are blown loudly, and even the windows are creaking, as if they are overwhelmed. If I remember correctly, a few days before coming here, Gu Huiyan actually heard that a typhoon had recently landed in Guangdong. It seems that all the typhoons in recent years have landed here, right? The local residents are really miserable. Hiss. After moving his body a little, Gu Huiyan felt a sharp pain in his left hand, which made him grimace. Wak, I am. The pain suddenly made Gu Huiyan sober up, and then he recalled that they seemed to have been in a car accident last night. It's not necessarily last night. Gu Huiyan doesn't know how long he slept. At the moment, there is a monster wind blowing outside, and all kinds of sand and dust blowing, making the air visibility very low. It's still cloudy, and the room is open den. Gu Huiyan doesn't believe you whether it's morning or night outside. What's the situation? Gu Huiyan felt depressed when he recalled what happened that night. He didn't remember hitting his head at all at the time, he only remembered hitting his arm and why he fainted. He still doesn't understand it now. After carefully moving around for a while, he found that except for his left hand, everything else seemed to be fine. He was just a little dizzy, so Gu Huiyan sat up with his right hand supported. Moving his eyes downward, he was able to look at the ward. At first glance, it was a private ward. He was alone in it, with a hospital bed, and opposite there was a sofa and TV for resting. It was decorated like a hotel room. Sister Xylin. When Gu Huiyan saw Sister Xylin, she was dozing off on the back of the sofa with a tired look on her face. Judging from her dress, Gu Huiyan was sure that time had not passed long, because Xylin was still wearing the blue tube top evening dress from that night, and she didn't even have time to change. Of course, she must have worn a coat, otherwise it would be outrageous to keep her shoulders exposed, and she would catch a cold, right? It is worth mentioning that the hem of the evening dress was extremely dirty. It looked like it had been dragged on the floor for a long time. It was probably impossible to wash it out. If it was a rented dress, the brand would definitely be held responsible. Sister Xylin's hair was also a little messy. Gu Huiyan had never seen her sister look so imageless. Not sure if she heard any noise, her eyelashes trembled slightly, and Xylin opened her eyes. The first time she saw Gu Huiyan sitting up, her eyes lit up, and then she quickly stood up and walked over, with concern written all over her exotic and pretty face, and she said, "You finally woke up, how are you? Are you feeling uncomfortable anywhere?" "No. It's okay." Gu Huiyan waved his hands and said that nothing happened to him except his hands. Of course, it was true that he felt a little dizzy. "Scared me?" Xylin, who had obviously cried, couldn't help but have tears in her eyes as she watched Gu Huiyan wake up. She was standing by the bed, and Gu Huiyan was sitting on the bed. I don't know if her sister was too excited, but she actually pressed Gu Huiyan's head on her chest. "Hold on." At that moment, Gu Huiyan lost his light. In fact, what would happen if it happened again? Click. At this moment, a voice came from the door, like Gu Huiyan's assistant Zhang Nuan pushing the door in and saying, "Sister Xylin, please go and have a rest. It's been a whole night." We. Before she finished speaking, she saw Xylin and Gu Huiyan hugging each other in the room. At that time, she was stunned. Xylin also immediately noticed the indecency of their actions, so she let go of Gu Huiyan, raised her jade hand to wipe her tears, and said, "Take a good feel for me and see if there's anything wrong. But don't leave any sequelae or anything like that." Gu Huiyan just stared at her blankly. Xylin looked a little panicked and couldn't help but ask. What are you looking at? Are you stupid? No. I just feel that this plot development is not quite right. Gu Huiyan scratched his head and said naughtily, in those TV series and novels, if something happens to the male protagonist and he opens his eyes in the ward, doesn't the female protagonist always lie next to the bed waiting for someone to wake up? Sister Xylin, why are you sitting on the sofa? Pook. Xylin was so amused that she couldn't laugh or cry. If it weren't for the fact that he was a sick person, she would definitely give him a slap in the face. In the end, she just wiped her red eyes and said, if you can still say this, it seems like nothing is wrong with you. Ha, it's okay. Gu Huiyan was so carefree that he didn't care whether anything happened to him or not. It was wrong to make people around him worry. At this moment, Gu Huiyan noticed that Xilin's hands seemed to be wrapped with a bandage, and couldn't help but frown and asked. How did you do this? If he remembered correctly, he seemed to have hugged Xylin when the accident happened that night, but he didn't remember how she was injured. Fine. Siren secretly put her bandaged hand behind her back, shook her head, and said nothing. Gu Huiyan looked at Zhang Nuan. Zhang Nuan put down the things in her hands and explained as if she was dumbfounded. This really wasn't caused by you when you had an accident. It was caused by Sister Xylin herself. Did you do it yourself? This made Gu Huiyan even more confused. Before Xylin could stop her, Zhang Nuan said something that almost scared Gu Huiyan. Sister Xylin smashed the paparazzi's car. Ah! Gu Huiyan was frightened at that time. No, who taught you how the plot unfolds like this? He looked at Xylin with a confused look on his face. His sister was not embarrassed at all. She just smiled and shook her head, straightened her messy hair a little, and said, I was too anxious last night. After the accident last night, she didn't care about that much and called an ambulance directly, but Gu Huiyan was already unconscious at that time, and she didn't know when the ambulance would come. Siren is so anxious. Then it just so happened that a group of paparazzi cars that were secretly filming them ran into the muzzle and filmed them not far away. As top A-listers, Gu Huiyan and Xylin were usually followed and secretly photographed by various paparazzi. Once they got used to it, they could tell who the paparazzi was. The moment they came out of the party, they felt someone secretly filming them. Naturally, I was aware of being followed and photographed on the road. If you are being photographed normally, just do it. They are used to it anyway, and they haven't done anything wrong. But in such an urgent situation at that time, they really had no vision. Not only did they not hide, they even wanted to get close and take secret photos. A few of them simply stopped pretending. Knowing that this was big news, they jumped out of the car and took pictures with a SLR. At that time, a burst of anger rushed into her mind. Xylin grabbed the hairband that tied her hair, spread her hair, and rushed towards the paparazzi car with a steering wheel lock that looked like an iron rod. The camera in the hand of the front paparazzi was smashed to the ground by her, and it broke into pieces. The paparazzi were so frightened that they hid in the car, but Xylin got in. Boom! One of their car windows was blown out. Shoot! Shoot again! No one has ever seen Siren like this. She has always been gentle and elegant. Who would have thought that she would have such a side? I was so frightened by those paparazzi that I uttered a few threatening words and drove away. They were really afraid that if I stayed again, this crazy woman would beat them up as well. Later, this matter was still on the hot search. Those paparazzi still wanted to discuss Xylin and condemn her, but it was a pity. In the end, netizens were furious. You said that Gu Huiyan was like that, let alone Xylin, everyone would be worried about it. Celebrities hate being photographed, but when there were so many people watching, they even took the initiative to shoot them. They all deserve to be smashed to death. To be honest, If it weren't for the fact that Gu Huiyan's life or death was uncertain, the incident of Xilan smashing the paparazzi car would have been the first trending topic for a while. And Xilan's hand. That's when I smashed the paparazzi's car window and got scratched. Why do you need to be angry with them? Gu Huiyan felt a little distressed for a moment. Xilan shook her head slightly and said nothing. She was rarely irrational, but in the situation last night when someone was still pointing a gun at her, she really couldn't restrain herself. It is worth mentioning that she did not pay the price for what happened last night. No matter what, she smashed other people's car windows and cameras, they are not cheap things, and she will definitely have to pay compensation for damaging other people's property. Those paparazzi must rely on her. So early in the morning, several of Xilan's assistants were busy chatting with the paparazzi. This is why not a single Xilan staff member was seen after Gu Huiyan woke up. Crotch ran, those paparazzi can't get any benefits. Secret photography itself is an infringement of other people's portrait rights, and the same goes for celebrities, as long as it is not in public. In addition, Xilan has a very wide network of contacts in the industry, so if it comes down to it, it's really not certain who will pay who. So in the end, it was nothing more than settling with some money, which was harmless. As a first-line star, Xilan lacked everything except money. Okay, let's eat something first. The assistant bought porridge and steamed buns. The doctor didn't tell Gu Huiyan to avoid eating anything, just fractures and minor concussions. If he was afraid of the sequelae, he would be hospitalized for a few days for observation. Basically, nothing else would be affected. However, in terms of diet, it is best to be lighter. There is nothing wrong with being light at any time. Just lie down. Xilan flipped up her messy hair, took a box of porridge from the breakfast brought by the assistant, opened it, served it with a spoon herself, cooled it and handed it to Gu Huiyan. Very considerate. She looked like she was taking care of her sick husband. No, Sister Xilan, I can do it myself. After all, there are outsiders here, and Gu Huiyan is a little embarrassed. His right hand is fine. Anyway, he usually has a golden right hand, and it's not like he can't eat. Do not move. As a result, his sister glared at him and insisted that he lie down and stay still. After all, he also has a concussion. Try not to move if you can. The fainting just now is the best way to show it. His brain hasn't recovered yet, okay. Gu Huiyan had no choice but to lie there and let Sister Xilan feed him porridge. Zhang Nuan watched without daring to say a word, but her expression when looking at Gu Huiyan was different. While eating, Gu Huiyan learned about everything after his accident last night, especially the various hot searches on the internet. He had expected this. As a first-line star and the king of the music industry, he deserved such treatment. The assistant was still talking about the impact of his accident on his subsequent work, the various tasks he had temporarily turned down, and so on. I didn't have time to talk about Pei Jingshu's tears at the airport, and I don't know if I forgot about it. But Gu Huiyan had already said nothing, lying on the bed silently, looking out the window from a distance. Whoa! Outside the window, the wind was blowing violently. This typhoon wind was really annoying. It was like someone was crying outside, howling like ghosts and wolves, which was a bit scary and made people panic. There was no expression on his face. Xilan rarely saw him like this, so she stared blankly out of the window. After dinner, Zhang Nuan went out to get something. When Xilan and Gu Huiyan were the only two people left in the room, Xilan couldn't help but ask. What's wrong? Are you feeling uncomfortable? No. Gu Huiyan shook his head and looked out the window at the trees swaying in the wind and rain. He was silent for a moment and said softly. Sister Xilan, I have a bad feeling. Siren didn't answer, because she seemed to have such a premonition. I don't know how long this silence lasted. The assistant finally opened the door, handed a bag with clothes to Xylan, and said, "Sister Xylan, please change your clothes first." Because she was always in a hurry, Xylan didn't close her eyes and rest much all night, and she didn't even change her clothes. Although this dress is definitely irreplaceable, it is not easy to wear it all the time and is inconvenient. Good. Xylan nodded, said hello to Gu Huiyan, then took the bag and ran to the private bathroom in the ward to change clothes. "Give me your phone." Gu Huiyan also asked his assistant to bring him the mobile phone. He didn't want to do anything else, but wanted to call home. Just now, Zhang Nuan talked about a lot about what happened last night, especially things about the internet, work, and Pei Jingshu. This is what an assistant should pay attention to. As for his cell phone, they did say something about it, but it just said that his cell phone kept ringing and all kinds of calls and messages kept coming in. Nothing else was said. This is normal. Gu Huiyan is now a first-line star after all, and he is involved in a lot of things. If something happens, everyone will naturally care about it. Among these people, one thing Gu Huiyan knew very well was that the one who cared about him the most, and who was the most frightened to the point of being unable to sleep, was his mother from his hometown. So before dealing with all kinds of troubles, the first thing Gu Huiyan had to do was definitely call home to report that everything was safe. Gu's mother didn't cry when she received the call. After all, the middle-aged woman who was over 50 years old had not experienced the storm, but her tone was full of anxiety and worry. She even said that she had invited Guzun early this morning. "Leave, tell him to buy a plane ticket and come over to take care of Huiyan." Gu Huiyan wanted to stop him and said he was fine, but this thing couldn't stop him at all. "You said that Gu Huiyan was smeared and reported on the internet before. It doesn't matter. No matter how venomous others say, you just don't listen or watch." Gu Huiyan's face is thicker than the city wall, so Gu's mother is not worried. But this time it's different. This time it was a car accident. "Can you stop worrying about me, and take care of me?" Gu Huiyan also joked, "Mom, this is your first time on a plane in your life. Didn't you expect that something happened to your son?" Gu's mother scolded her for a while, saying that your boy's injuries seemed to be minor. But hearing that he could still make such a joke made Gu Ma feel relieved. The conversation between mother and son has not lasted long. Suddenly, ta-ta-ta! A burst of violent footsteps suddenly came from the corridor, and a familiar voice came to Gu Huiyan's ears. "Where is the person? Where is he? Take me there quickly." That voice was really familiar, like the voice that had been engraved in Gu Huiyan's dream recently, which made Gu Huiyan feel helpless about her willfulness. Gu Huiyan. When she pushed open the ward door and came in, Shang Zuoyan rushed directly to Gu Huiyan's window, hugged him, cried like a tearful person, and shouted, "It scared me to death. It scared me to death. You stinking bastard. I thought I would never see you again, Weavua." She cried very loudly, not caring whether there was an assistant watching, whether it would affect the hospital, or whether it pressed on Gu Huiyan's injured hand. Zhang Nuan silently helped Gu Huiyan close the door to the ward. "Hiss, it hurts." Gu Huiyan grinned in pain, and she happened to press Gu Huiyan's braced hand. "Ah!" She was so frightened that she stood up and said in a panic, "I'm sorry, I don't know, I..." At this moment, Gu Huiyan had time to look at her. This woman actually knew how to keep a low profile. She put on a mask, hat, and sunglasses to cover her recognizable face, and even tied up her fiery blue hair. It's just that you can't hide your good figure no matter how hard you try. The two Seong and Dakshan brothers are so awesome. SHH. Gu Huiyan didn't have time to talk to her yet, so he made a silence gesture and said to his mother on the phone, "Okay, let's not talk about it for now, Mom, I'm fine, don't worry, just come if you want. I'll transfer some money to Guzun, just in time for him to take you to have fun." Mother Gu on the other end of the phone didn't know if she heard Shang Zuoyan's voice just now, but she probably did, so she kept silent for a while. In the end, the mother didn't say anything. She just told Gu Huiyan to have a good rest first and they would be there at noon. Okay. Gu Huiyan nodded and hung up the phone. Only then did he have time to glance at Shang Zuoyan. At this time, the beautiful doll girl had taken off her mask, sunglasses, and hat, and was sitting in front of Gu Huiyan crying, holding his uninjured right hand, putting it to her mouth, and sobbing softly. I don't know if she came in a hurry, but she didn't even put on makeup. She is a girl who cares about appearance so much. The fact that she came here without makeup really shows how important this matter is to her. In the bathroom, Xylin, who had just finished changing her clothes, heard the movement and leaned against the door silently. He raised his head and felt heavy, but in the end he did not choose to go out. Downstairs, a taxi came quickly and drove directly to the door. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Participating in a love show, this little guy is too down to earth. Author, Buletin Shi Swan Shi Shui Xian. Chapter 299. Chapter 295 Gu Huiyan, let's break up. Whoa. Okay, don't cry. I'm just a little injured. It's not like I'm dead. Are you crying like a widow? Whoa. Why don't you listen? Oh, okay, it's clearly me who's hurt, why am I the one comforting you? Woo 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 woo. No, Shang Zuoyan, tears are really worthless, aren't they? Why are you always crying? The way you cry, you lose all the water in your tears. Do you not need to go to the bathroom? Get out. Shang Zuoyan, who couldn't stop crying, was finally amused by Gu Huiyan's words. What she hated most about Gu Huiyan, that stinky bastard, was that he could always make her laugh when she was always sad and crying. The key is that she doesn't live up to expectations. How come she laughs every time? Do you know how worried and scared I am about you? She was sitting on the edge of the bed. The seat was not too short. Although Gu Huiyan was lying down, the bed could be propped up, so they were almost on equal footing. Gu Huiyan looked at her at eye level. At that moment, Gu Huiyan could clearly see the panic, uneasiness, worry and fear contained in Shang Zuoyan's big watery eyes. She pouted her little mouth and kept saying while wiping her tears. When I first heard the news, I was so anxious that I went crazy. The time when she got the news was actually not too early, it was almost 4 o'clock in the morning. After all, Gu Huiyan's accident happened late at night and everyone had to go to bed. Even if it was a hot surge, it would really start to ferment in the morning. At that time, the makeup artist and assistant agreed to come to the house at 5 o'clock to grab makeup. They got up early and got the news, so they went to wake her up in advance, otherwise she might have to be a little late. Having said this, she was quite glad that she happened to be in Shenzhen yesterday, which was not far from here. It was a 3 or 4 hour drive and she drove here directly. If it's far away, you still have to wait for a flight ticket. I'm really scared. Woo, I know you don't want to hear it, but I still want to say. I'm really afraid that I'll never see you again. As she spoke, she actually started crying again. Gu Huiyan. Aim. In the past, he always didn't understand the saying women are made of water. There was so much water. Today, it was a small knife in the ass, which opened his eyes. And looking at Shang Zuoyan like this, for some reason, Gu Huiyan felt a little cute. You're not wearing makeup today, right? Gu Huiyan asked. Shang Zuoyan said while sobbing. I woke up and rushed here after hearing the news. How? I didn't have time to put on makeup. In fact, she could grab some makeup on the way, but unfortunately, she was too busy crying and worrying on the way, and had no intention of putting on makeup at all. Ah! Gu Huiyan smiled when he heard this. Before Shang Xuan could react and ask him why he asked such a question, Gu Huiyan suddenly raised his hand. A handful. He pinched her baby fat cheek. Shang Xuan. At that time, the black question mark on Shang Xuan's head looked at Gu Huiyan with an expression that seemed to say, "What are you doing? Why did you suddenly pinch her face? What the hell? Is it some strange hobby? Hee, I've wanted to squeeze it for a long time." Gu Huiyan chuckled and explained that he used to think that Shang Xuan's face was quite cute, like those Barbie dolls that little girls like to play with, tight, fleshy, tender and pink. However, Shang Xuan doesn't like others touching her face. Girls generally don't like letting others touch their faces. On the one hand, this part is not something others can touch casually, and on the other hand, it's also because there is makeup. You really can't touch your face with makeup, otherwise it will cost you to refill the foundation. I just can't bear to touch it, let alone pinch it. If you pinch it, makeup is a must, right? This is also the reason why Gu Huiyan just asked Shang Xuan if she wore makeup. Gu Huiyan would not dare to touch anyone who wears makeup. Creak. Shang Xuan gritted her teeth tightly, and there were still tears on her face, but at this moment, her delicate body was trembling with anger, and she stared at Gu Huiyan who was pinching her face. "I." The slender hands were raised, and she was half standing up. She was already in a fighting state and ready to send Gu Huiyan to the west at any time. "Hey. I'm a sick person now, be careful if you try to get me into trouble again." Gu Huiyan quickly warned her. "You and I." Shang Xuan's forehead veins were exposed, but in the end he actually endured the sigh, took his hand back, and sat back with his round buttocks sticking out, gritting his teeth and saying angrily and resentfully, "I was so worried, but the first thing I did when we met was to pinch my face. Gu Huiyan, you really might as well just not wake up." To be honest, Shang Xuan is tolerant of Gu Huiyan today. If this were the case in the past, she would have given Gu Huiyan bang 2 punches. "Are you willing to?" Gu Huiyan shook his head and smiled. "Can't bear to part with it?" Shang Xuan still did not go against her heart. She looked up at Gu Huiyan and met Gu Huiyan's eyes. The two fell into silence for a while, saying nothing to each other. Probably they both know what each other will say next. Whoa! There is still a strong wind outside, and today the wind is so loud that it makes people uncomfortable to hear it. Shang Xuan stood up, moved to the edge of the hospital bed, and gently pressed against Gu Huiyan's chest in a gesture that was similar to pounce but without any impact. Her 2 hands wrapped around Gu Huiyan, her little doll-like head rested on Gu Huiyan's chest, and her thick hair just touched Gu Huiyan's chin. At this moment, she seemed very at ease. It was probably because she had cried just now. There was still a bit of crying in her voice as she said, "On the way here, I thought of many things. I think of the first time we met, the first time we had dinner together, the steak you secretly saved for me. I thought of the heartwarming message you sent me for the first time, saying that there was a root vegetable in my tooth. I also thought about how stupidly I confessed my love to you, knowing that there was no answer, yet in front of so many people. I even thought of you brushing my shoes and washing my skirts. You always tease me, always make me angry, and things like cow dung can blow up on me. You bastard, you deserve to be scolded. You always make me sad. You can leave me naked in a hotel and make me cry all night. You can even play games in secret without telling others. Sometimes, I really want to never see you again. How can you, a heartless person like you, be worthy of me, Shang Xuan, pursuing you so hard? Oh, Shang Xuan. Isn't it something that men don't have? What kind of man do I want that I don't have? But it seems that I really can't live without you. Maybe you guessed that I lied. Yes, it's not a coincidence that the Chinese New Year is here. I just want to go to the city where you are. I just want to see you. At that time, I particularly looked down on myself, because I knew you rejected me, but I still clung to you. How could that be like what I, Shang Zuoyan, would do? You know, I have never cared about anyone's words or opinions, so the person who made me in such a bad state at that time was you and only you. You stinky bastard, you've made me no longer interested in cakes, ugh. At this point, she burst into tears again. Gu Huiyan didn't know whether to cry or laugh. It was such a sad, emotional, and touching scene, so how could she burst into tears over the cake? Can't you just change the place to collapse? This made Gu Huiyan act out in an instant, feeling like he didn't have a cake that was so important. Originally wanting to rub her head, Gu Huiyan finally put down his hand, just rolled his eyes and added. Don't always tell me how cruel I am to you, your strawberry mark also hurts me, okay. At that time, Gu Huiyan's new album had just been released and was becoming popular. Public relations were easy to do, otherwise the strawberry print alone would have destroyed Gu Huiyan's house. And that was only in the public eye. Pei Jingshu also mentioned it later. You deserve it. Shang Zuoyan did not pity Gu Huiyan, she just raised her head and spat fiercely, then wiped her tears, no longer lying on Gu Huiyan's chest, but stared directly into his eyes, and continued. I asked you that day, do you think I would fall in love with someone else in the future? You said without hesitation that you don't think so. Today I also want to tell you that besides you, it's also difficult for me, no, isn't it? Maybe fall in love with someone else again. At this point, she pouted her lips, looking a little arrogant. She pinched her slender waist. Although today was still the same as last time, without makeup and crying in a very embarrassed manner, she could not wait any longer, and it was impossible to wait any longer. She says. Gu Huiyan, you have delayed my whole life, and you must be responsible for this. This scene. To be honest, it's quite touching. If an ordinary couple confesses their love, they will basically declare that they are done. But Gu Huiyan's face didn't seem to be happy. Have you thought about it? After a moment of silence, he asked. There was distress in his eyes, not for himself, but for Shang Zuoyan. Yeah, think about it. At this moment, Shang Zuoyan did not hesitate at all. She was very determined. Perhaps according to the normal development, Gu Huiyan did not have a car accident. The moment Shang Zuoyan said I have thought about it, there was still a slight hesitation. But after experiencing this incident, she knew very well how important Gu Huiyan was to her. The only thing that kept in her mind along the way was that she couldn't live without Gu Huiyan, absolutely not. So at this moment, she really doesn't want to hesitate anymore. In the face of life and death, everything seemed so insignificant. What consequences, house collapse, Shang Zuoyan had long been forgotten at this moment. She just wanted to spend as much time with Gu Huiyan as possible in the limited time. Whoa! Outside the window, the wind was still blowing hard, and it never stopped, nor did it look like it was planning to stop. Instead, it felt like it was getting stronger and stronger. It was getting darker outside, and the lights in the room seemed very bright. But even so, in Gu Huiyan's eyes at this moment, Shang Zuoyan's big eyes are the two brightest stars. At this moment, in a daze, the energetic girl that Gu Huiyan knew at the beginning, the ever-changing ghost horse spirit, the cute foodie who couldn't walk when he saw delicious food. She has come back. The corners of Gu Huiyan's mouth raised slightly. At that moment, he seemed to be infected by Shang Zuoyan and didn't want to think about those illusory things. Shang Zuoyan's pretty face turned red, and she took advantage of the situation and said. So, my answer is. The answer that had tortured them for so long, struggled with it for so long, and been sad for so long, was finally. It's time to finally blurt out from Shang Zuoyan's rosy mouth. The corners of Gu Huiyan's mouth just raised in less than 3 seconds. What's the answer? In the room. Very suddenly, there was a voice that should not have appeared here at this time anyway. Gu Huiyan was very familiar with Shang Zuoyan's voice and was very familiar with it. That voice is very recognizable. Well-known first-line female singers have never had low-tone recognition. But in the past, this voice should have made everyone feel very comfortable, but I don't know why. Today, this voice seemed a bit cold. Both the words and the words gave people a biting coldness. Like, it will turn into an ice pick and pierce through people. Shang Zuoyan's delicate body trembled when she heard this voice, and she was startled. Then she looked panicked and turned her head to look at the door in disbelief. The raised corners of Gu Huiyan's mouth suddenly stiffened and could no longer be raised. When their eyes turned back to look at the door of the ward, then he discovered that a beautiful figure was already standing there at some point. She has a good figure and is very slender. Such a figure goes well with clothes and she is a natural dresser. So even if she is just wearing simple sky blue jeans, a white shirt and a gray jacket today, she gives people the feeling of temperamental beauty. Her hair is black and smooth, draped over her shoulders and back like a waterfall. The quality of her hair is so good that one can't help but wonder, how much does this woman spend on hair care alone every year? Even though she was wearing a mask, her face was still so recognizable. Her skin was so white and tender that it looked like it could be broken by a bullet. Her exposed eyes looked like God's most exquisitely crafted work, and her facial features were so contoured that they were the envy of others. But for some reason, you can see the emotions on this pretty face with only half of it exposed. Only sad. It's the kind of heartbreaking sadness. Her brows were furrowed tightly, as if she was thinking, why did this happen, how could it happen? Her eyes were moist, and tears kept flowing out. She was worried before she came, but she never expected that it would turn into sad. Therefore, she once comforted herself that she should not doubt Gu Huiyan, everything she had ever doubted. Is it all true? So the strawberry mark was indeed left to him by Shang Zuoyan, so it was really Shang Zuoyan who played the game with him, so even during the Chinese New Year, the paparazzi said they wanted to expose Gu Huiyan's scandal. Is that true too? But why? Obviously. She believes in Gu Huiyan so much. So concerned about his feelings and his face. Why do things still turn out like this? At this time, Pei Jingshu felt not only betrayal, but also cheat. Why would he lie to himself? She could never figure out how a boy who made her feel that he loved her so much could lie to her so much, and how he was about to betray her. She doesn't want to cry. Even when she was listening outside just now, she didn't want to come out. She just wanted to finish listening in silence, and then leave silently, leaving each other with dignity and letting Gu Huiyan's staff tell him that she was here. But she. None. Argument. Like. What? I can't say anything. Do nothing. She is a human being. Just a normal girl. She was in the stage of love. When she heard that her boyfriend had an accident, she rushed to the airport at 2 or 3 in the morning and cried for 6 or 7 hours. What an ordinary girl. The atmosphere in the room suddenly froze. The staff were not nearby, most of them were around the corner, and those who should be avoided were avoided. Even Pei Jingshu's agent sister Pei Ya, who was so angry, temporarily stepped aside. Whoa! The room was supposed to be quiet, but the evil wind outside was making people feel headache. The more you scrape, the bigger it gets. It was so loud that people couldn't hear Pei Jingshu's cry. Probably because it was too unexpected and sudden. So neither Gu Huiyan nor Shang Zuoyan could react for a moment about what they should say or what they should do. I just sat there blankly and stupidly, looking at Pei Jingshu who was standing at the door, clenching her pink fists, her delicate body trembling constantly, crying like pear blossoms with rain. Gu Huiyan. Pei Jingshu's eyes were filled with despair and sadness. She didn't give Gu Huiyan a chance to react or explain. She just trembled, gritted her teeth, and said the sentence with all her heart that she never thought she would say to Gu Huiyan. Let's break up. Even when she said this, all she was thinking about was I don't want to say it, I don't want to say it, I can't say it, can I not say it? But her pride, her aloofness, her self-esteem, her bottom line. Let her have to say this no matter what. And after she said these words, no matter how much she didn't think about it, no matter how much she cared, she still gritted her teeth, endured it, and turned around like this. Left. No one knows how painful Pei Jingshu's heart is at this moment. In the past, when watching TV series and reading novels, I always heard people say a word called heart is like a knife twisting. At that time, Pei Jingshu always didn't understand. At this moment, this feeling was particularly strong. It was like a knife, stabbing hard into Pei Jingshu's heart and turning it back and forth several times, twisting her heart into pieces, and another. So, it hurts. It really hurts. The pain was so painful that she almost suffocated, almost couldn't breathe, and almost fainted. But even though her eyes were dark, she still gritted her teeth and walked out along the corridor. She wants to leave. She didn't want to be here any longer. At this moment, her world completely turned into black and white. As much love as there will be much hurt. No one knows how much Pei Jingshu feels at this time. Covered in bruises. The most exciting part has just begun. All the foreshadowing is for the following plot. Just shake off your cheeks and shove it sideways into your mouth. After watching it, it's time to go to school, and it's time to go to work. Participating in a love show, this little guy is too down to earth. Author, Buletin Shi Swan Shi Shui Xian. Chapter 300. Jingshu, Pei Jingshu. It wasn't until Pei Jingshu left resolutely that Gu Huiyan finally realized what happened and finally subconsciously knew what he should do. He grabbed the quilt that was covering him in one fell swoop. He didn't even have time to put on his shoes and chased out with his bare feet. He had a sling bottle on his hand, but he snatched it off without hesitation, without even having time to care whether the blood vessels in his hand were bleeding. He was in a hurry at the time, but within a few steps of standing up, he felt a strong sense of dizziness in his mind. When I was lying down before, I felt very dizzy. It seemed that I hit my head last night and had a concussion. I felt dizzy even when I was lying down. The dizziness was definitely more intense when I stood up. What's more, Gu Huiyan didn't get up slowly, but stood up suddenly and rushed out. At first he could still sprint for a while, and even rushed all the way out of the ward, but as soon as he entered the corridor, he really couldn't restrain the dizziness. His body began to sway and stumble. He wanted to hold onto the wall, but he walked so slowly while holding onto the wall. As soon as the wall is released, bang! The person lost control of his balance and fell to the ground. By coincidence, he bumped into his broken left hand, which caused Gu Huiyan to grin and gasp in pain. Ah! Even he couldn't hold back a scream. Be careful! Are you okay? The staff finally reacted and chased him to help him. For a while, it was very noisy and messy here. And at the end of the corridor, Pei Jingshu, who had been very determined to leave, heard the sound of Gu Huiyan falling and his screams. His footsteps suddenly stopped. She stood there with her head lowered, her delicate body trembling, her silver teeth clenched, trying her best to resist the urge to go back and see him. She was scolding herself in her heart, scolding herself for being so unsatisfactory. He had obviously betrayed their relationship. Why did she still care about him so much? The word breakup has already blurted out. What relationship does there have between them? Why should she care about Gu Huiyan's life and death? Pain. You deserve it. He deserves to be thrown to death. What does Pei Jingshu have to do with her? But she would, involuntarily, worry about whether he had fallen. He had just been in a car accident, and his hands and head were wrapped with bandages. He could have fallen if he came out to chase her, and it was obvious that he was seriously injured. If he fell again under such circumstances, wouldn't he add to the injury? Woo! Tears flowed out of the corners of her eyes uncontrollably, and the white mask was already extremely wet. Although Pei Jingshu restrained herself, she still did not take another step forward. How about, go back and take a look? Pei Ya whispered something and wanted to know if there was any misunderstanding. She is quite interesting, now she is pretending to be a good person. Pei Jingshu said nothing, just stood there, her delicate body trembling, obviously engaged in a crazy psychological struggle. However, this struggle did not last long. Snapped. In this relatively quiet corridor, a slap sounded very suddenly. That's right. Just now, Pei Jingshu raised her hand and slapped herself hard. It was probably because he was pumping very hard, so a red mark instantly appeared on that delicate and pretty face. Finished. She didn't hesitate anymore and walked resolutely to the elevator entrance. What are you doing? Pei Ya was frightened and hurriedly went up to care about her sister. To be honest, she had never seen Pei Jingshu like this. Although she knew that her sister had a strong temper, she never thought that she could not get rid of the sand in her eyes to this extent. She was very decisive, and that slap just now seemed to be slapping her soft-hearted self. She really wanted to go back and take care of Huiyan and care about her again. Even before slapping her, she wanted to say she cared about him one last time without comforting herself. But she didn't look back, because she knew that she could never look back. Once she looked back, she might become soft-hearted and unable to leave. From the moment she said the word break up, Gu Huiyan and Pei Jingshu had nothing to do with each other whether they were dead or alive. Even if they meet in the future, they will be just strangers. Just treat her sincerity as a dog. Leave me alone, stop her first. On Gu Huiyan's side, after the pain subsided, he stood up holding onto the wall and called the staff to chase Pei Jingshu. Well. Several assistants were dumbfounded. They actually didn't know what happened. Pei Jingshu and Pei Ya passed by at that time and they were waiting outside. But I still went over to help chase, and a few actually caught up, but they don't know how to stop Pei Jingshu. You can't just stop her and tell her not to leave, right? If Pei Jingshu wants to leave, how dare they stop her, and how can they possibly stop her? So in the end, Pei Jingshu entered the elevator anyway. While waiting at the elevator entrance, Gu Huiyan hurriedly caught up, but unfortunately, when he arrived at the elevator entrance, the elevator door was already closed. In the end, Pei Jingshu only saw a very embarrassed Gu Huiyan being helped by the staff at the moment the elevator door closed. To be honest, even at that moment, Pei Jingshu still had the urge to press the elevator door button, and even moved her hand subconsciously. But in the end, she endured it. The elevator goes down. Her tears also fell down. Upstairs, Gu Huiyan, who had been pressing the elevator for a long time, saw that he could no longer wait for the elevator, so he took the stairs directly. Then he fell down while walking up the stairs. This concussion was really uncomfortable. Whoa! Outside, the evil wind is blowing stronger and stronger. When Pei Jingshu went out, her hair was all messed up. Looking out from the ward upstairs, the scene is really scary. If it weren't for the inappropriate situation, I think Shang Zuoyan would really say, "Fellow Taoist who is here to survive the tribulation, do you dare to show up to see me?" Okay, no kidding. It's quite quiet in the ward. Pei Jingshu left, Gu Huiyan went to chase Pei Jingshu, and the staff followed, leaving Shang Zuoyan alone, sitting blankly on the hospital bed, with an expression sluggish. That doll-like pretty face seemed to have lost all life and was completely reduced to a Barbie doll. To be honest, her mind is very confused now. She never thought that things would develop to this point. In fact, it is a bit bloody. But very realistic. In fact, she should have thought of this result before she made the decision, but she never expected that she would get that before she made the decision. Worst outcome. Gu Huiyan told her about those scumbag novels and so on. In those novels, the male protagonist and other female protagonists had sweet pasts and fragments. Why did he end up with her and continue to abuse him after he was tortured? She had stopped crying recently and had just regained her energy. Why did she suddenly encounter such a thing? This kind of thing is the kind that makes her unable to even cry. It directly messed up her whole body. Click. That's when there was the sound of the door opening from the bathroom in the ward. Shang Zuoyan was shocked. She had not paid attention to the bathroom since she came in. She thought there was no one in the bathroom because the door was closed. She never thought that there was someone inside. And this person is still Siren. Sister 11, Xylin. Shang Zuoyan was shocked when she saw Xylin. She was always reckless and heartless, and she never even asked where Sister Xylin was from the beginning. Gu Huiyan and Xylin had an accident together. She probably wouldn't have thought that Sister Xylin had gone back to sleep. When Xylin came out of the bathroom, she had already changed into casual clothes, blue high-waisted denim trousers, and a light blue striped shirt top. It was a very simple outfit that could be worn with an open neckline and a shirt hem tied to one side. But it's not difficult to see some of my sister's little tips. Of course, now is not the time to care about these, the more conspicuous things on Xylin's face. Tear stains. Yes, inside, she also cried after witnessing everything. She was different today than before. If it were normal, she thought, if it were her, faced with the situation just now, she would have come out to be the peacemaker, mediating and adjusting, helping to stop Pei Jingshu, or maybe when Gu Huiyan fell support him when he falls. But in the end she did nothing. She rarely chose to escape. Just like that, in the bathroom, quietly listening to the various movements outside. After everyone left and the ward became quiet, she sneaked out. No way. She really can't emotionally wear a mask and act like a good guy. She is also selfish. She would be sad when she heard that Shang Zuoyan was flirting with Gu Huiyan, and her heart would tremble when she heard that Pei Jingshu was coming, and she would be at a loss and not know what to do. Escape is just everyone's survival instinct. But when it comes out, she still put on her own mask out of habit. She didn't care whether the tears on her face would be seen by Shang Zuoyan, she just gave Shang Zuoyan a familiar smile, and then, tilting her head slightly, she whispered, "How about you go back first?" Shang Zuoyan was stunned for a moment, obviously she never thought that Sister Xylin would say such a thing. Seeing that she didn't answer, Xylin straightened her messy hair and explained. "He's already like this, so don't cause any more trouble for him, eh?" Shang Zuoyan pursed her lips tightly for a long time. She nodded slightly. At that moment, her face was filled with self-blame, her head was lowered like a little girl who had done something wrong, and her two ponytails dyed with fire blue were hanging casually. It feels like it's all her responsibility for things to be like this. If she hadn't insisted on pestering Gu Huiyan and insisted on hearing a word of like for her from him, she wouldn't have ended up like this. In the end, nothing happened to her, but she harmed Gu Huiyan. When he fell outside just now, Shang Zuoyan was also frightened. It wasn't that she didn't want to go out to help him, but she was too panicked and confused at the time, and she didn't know what to do. And now Siren showed her a way. "Let's go. Go now. Don't stay here any longer. Find a place to escape reality for a while. By the way, Let your tofu brain, which is wrapped up in love, wake up. In a short time, don't see Gu Huiyan again. Because he may not have time to care about these things about you. He himself will also become burnt. Head. Rotten. Forehead. She lowered her head, picked up her sunglasses, mask, hat, and bag, and silently walked out of the ward like a zombie. She is still confused even now. She remembers the scene of Gu Huiyan rushing out to chase Pei Jingshu without hesitation, and she also remembers that he didn't even look at her at that time. Sad. Nor. She felt that Gu Huiyan should do this. Pei Jingshu's arrival and her reaction can be regarded as a slap to wake up Shang Zuoyan. She never thought that when Pei Jingshu appeared at the door of the ward, she would feel so guilty, so scared, so panic. Before this, she had never denied everything she had done, but at that moment, she suddenly felt as if everything you did was wrong. It shouldn't be done. She left. Went away secretly. He didn't even dare to go through the door where Gu Huiyan chased Pei Jingshu, but took a side door. This led to Gu Huiyan not seeing her when he went back. Didn't catch up. After being helped back to bed by the staff, the first words Gu Huiyan heard were from Sister Xylin. Gu Huiyan remained silent, and the staff members sensibly withdrew, leaving Gu Huiyan and Xylin alone in the room. Whoa! This damn evil wind is still blowing a lot of sand and dust. Gu Huiyan just went out for a while, and there was dust on his clothes. I didn't catch up. Gu Huiyan shook his head and answered surprisingly calmly. That's right, he didn't catch up with Pei Jingshu in the end. The floor of the ward where he lived was quite high. By the time he took the stairs down, Pei Jingshu's car had already gone far. This evil wind has been blowing all morning today. There is dust outside and the air visibility is low. Not to mention that the car has gone far when they got off. Even if they didn't go far, they don't know which car Pei Jingshu got into. Because they were in a hurry, they took a taxi directly from the airport, and now they are leaving directly by taxi. How can they identify taxis? Gu Huiyan's face had no expression. To be honest, he didn't know what he was feeling now, or what he should be feeling. In fact, logically speaking, it should be sad, right? But he is an old man, and he doesn't seem to be able to cry easily. After all, he is not incontinent of tears. It just feels like my heart feels empty. It's like a piece is missing. He wanted to be sad, and cry, but it seemed that his brain had a stress response, just like the accident that night when his hand was injured and he didn't feel pain at the first moment, making him unable to feel anything. There is no sense of reality. He even wondered if his brain had been damaged. Now he couldn't even remember the scene when Pei Jingshu said break up just now. There was nothing in his mind, it was empty. I forgot to care about where Shang Zuoyan went, and even more forgot to care about where Sister Xylin was just now, why she suddenly appeared in the ward again. I forgot to care about anything. He looked innocent at first, but now he seems a little dazed. It's over, I'm stupid, I'm completely stupid. In fact, this kind of situation is not uncommon. It is like the death of a very important relative. Many people will not realize how sad they are at first. Only after the event, in the dead of night, when you think back, when you accidentally think of this person, and when you happen to encounter something related to this person, will you truly realize how sad you are. Then the tears will be like a dam bursting, crying and crying and crying. I asked Shang Zuoyan to go back first. Seeing Gu Huiyan like this, Xylin felt a little distressed and helped him pour a glass of water. Gu Huiyan took it dully and poured the boiling water directly into his mouth. He didn't even say it was hot. He didn't think it was hot not only on his mouth, but also on the hand holding the cup. Hey! What are you doing? Xylin was frightened and rushed over to grab the cup, which caused her hand to be splashed with hot water, which was very hot and painful. But Gu Huiyan didn't respond at all, which made people wonder if his pain-sensing nerves had disappeared. But you might say he was stupid, but he was wiping the splashed sheets with paper towels, and he didn't forget to pass a few to Xylin. Seeing him like this, Xylin's tears were about to burst out uncontrollably again. "Sister Xylin." At this moment, Gu Huiyan suddenly called her, and when she looked over, Gu Huiyan asked, "Aren't you leaving?" Xylin was stunned for a moment and didn't understand what Gu Huiyan meant at first, but later she actually understood. On the one hand, his words were asking, Pei Jingshu and Shang Zuoyan have left him, will Xylin, who has witnessed everything, not leave? On the other hand, I also want to say, how about Sister Xylin, please go too. I really don't deserve you to stay here. Just leave me alone for a while. I want Jing Jing, so don't ask me who Jing Jing is. Although she understood what he meant, Xylin still shook her head slightly. She put down the water glass and sat next to Gu Huiyan's hospital bed. She raised her proud and white neck. There were tears in her red eyes, but she said seriously and firmly, "No matter who leaves, my sister won't leave." Gu Huiyan pursed his lips, actually wanting to give Sister Xylin a smile, but for some reason, he couldn't smile. In the end, he just nodded and said softly, "Thanks." This day was very chaotic. News of Gu Huiyan's car accident has been flying around on various platforms since the accident early yesterday morning. Many people on the internet are concerned about Gu Huiyan's safety. The company's public relations team finally made a safe announcement at around 10 o'clock in the morning, telling everyone that Gu Huiyan was safe and sound. He just injured his arm and it was not a major problem, which reassured many fans. Despite this, there were still many fans who cared about Gu Huiyan. The address of the hospital where he was staying was quickly dug up. By noon, an unknown number of people had gathered downstairs in the ward. So sometimes, celebrities are not willing to stay in VIP wards because they are lonely or special, but just for their own safety. To be honest, Gu Huiyan would usually stay in an ordinary ward to earn system points, but now he is really not in that mood. It is not because he is worried about Pei Jingshu, but since the morning, there has been no one in his ward all day long. The Shura field of entertainment writing has the same development method as our entertainment writing. It is certain that it will come full circle. It was designed when I wrote it, and it will not fall apart anywhere. Then it's been a long time since I asked for recommendation votes, monthly votes, rewards, etc. We can't make any rankings now, so I'll just give some to my friends if they can. Well, that's all. Thank you for your support. Participating in a love show, this little guy is too down to earth. Author, Buletin Shi Swan Shi Shui Xian. Chapter 301. Asterisk backslash U0026 amp, 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 percent UN hashtag at. This day. Gu Huiyan didn't even know how he got here. Only know. There are so many people. Many, many. At first, people from the company came to see how he was doing, but later Zhang Ma flew over in person. After all, he was the company's biggest cash cow. He couldn't be brought down by anyone. His safety was related to the jobs of many people. Later, the brand he was cooperating with sent him condolences and politely said that it was okay if there was any delay in work and asked Gu Huiyan to take good care of his health first. Sensible brands usually choose to build a good relationship with artists, especially high-quality first-line artists like Gu Huiyan. Their concern at this time can be said to be a timely help, and they feel that Gu Huiyan will definitely thank them. Then, there were some friends. As a first-line star, Gu Huiyan said that he has few friends is an exaggeration. Because of his popularity, many people have gathered around him for more than a year. When he had an accident, even if it was just out of the most basic concern, I also want to come and visit him. Anyone who has been nearby recently will basically come to visit. Even those who are far away will fly over to see the situation as long as they have time. So just as friends, I haven't broken up with anyone throughout the day. Gu Huiyan remembered that Zhang Shuo had been here, and that the young woman Yao had been here. The party they attended last night, they must have not left this morning, so it wouldn't make sense for them to be so close and not come over to have a look. He remembered that many people had come and had impressions in his mind. What was more profound was that in the afternoon, the actor Su Yuntang flew over, nominally to visit Gu Huiyan, but as soon as he arrived, he nervously rushed to Xilan and grabbed Xilan's hand tightly. "Wrist?" asked anxiously. "Celine, are you okay? Huh? Are you injured anywhere?" Gu Huiyan could see the concern in his eyes was very strong. A man who was so charming in the eyes of his fans, a gentle and elegant man who was known as the walking hormone, a man who was methodical and well organized in everything he did. At that time, I was as anxious as a 200-pound child. Anyone who sees him like that should be moved. But for some reason, Gu Huiyan was not moved, not at all. It's not directed at anyone, but it just doesn't move me. Even when the actor Su was sure that Xilan was fine and turned to care about Gu Huiyan just nodded dully and answered normally that the problem was nothing serious but that he hurt his hand. What's up with him? Some people used to say that Gu Huiyan and Su Yuntang were the true love. This was actually reflected now, because many people didn't notice anything was wrong with Gu Huiyan throughout the day, but Su Yuntang noticed it after just a few words of conversation. Xilan glanced at Gu Huiyan with a slightly distressed look, shook her head and said nothing. Gu Huiyan is quite strong. Look at his reaction now. It may be different from usual, but it just feels a little different. He can hear you when you talk to him, and he can even make jokes for you. This is Gu Huiyan, a person who seems to never cry, make trouble, or tell others no matter what he faces. Bitterness and sadness are all your own. Those negative emotions cannot be told to others, nor can they be shared with others. Not only because others cannot understand or empathize, but also because it will also affect others. No need. Just digest it yourself. After being stunned for a few days, it passed. There is nothing that cannot be overcome. What's more, the real storm hasn't come yet, and now I can't stand the monster wind. When the storm comes, will you still be alive? Noon. About 1 or 2 o'clock. Gu's mother and Gu Huiyan's brother Gu Zun, mother and son, came. The middle-aged woman who was over 50 and experienced many hardships. She had always been a strong mother. When she saw her son lying on the hospital bed with bandages on his hands and head, he finally broke down and cried. The crying was not pretty, it was even ugly, and the expression was very ferocious, but there was heartache in it. How can there be a mother in the world who doesn't feel sorry for her son? When Gu's mother came, Xilan saw a rare smile on Gu Huiyan's face. He happily comforted his mother and said that he was fine. If you don't believe it, why don't I come down and take a few steps? He also said, okay, stop crying. Look, you look ugly when you cry. Do you see the inner mountains outside? There are paparazzi over there using cameras to secretly take pictures of you. How embarrassing would it be to take a picture of you and upload it to the internet for people to see? Roll. Angry, Ma Gu raised her hand and wanted to hit him. This boy deserved a beating. He was still joking right now? Gu Zun looked concerned but had no chance to interrupt. Gu Huiyan saw this and decisively ordered his assistant. Find some online classes for him later, don't delay your studies. Gu Zun went to junior high school and came here on leave this time. Gu's mother had never traveled far in her life, so he naturally had to take care of her. Gu Zun. After hearing this, Gu Zun secretly gave Gu Huiyan a middle finger, rolled his eyes, and said, brother, if you don't want to be a human being, you can just stop being a human being, just get killed and you can be reincarnated. The family chatted for a while and said hello to Xylan. It is worth mentioning that after Gu's mother made sure that her son was fine, she went to chasing stars. First, he asked if he could take a photo with Xylan, and then if he could take a photo with Su Yuntang. Both of them are actors with high national popularity. Even people of Gu's age have watched their TV series, and they wanted to do it before. I asked Gu Huayan to ask them to take a photo together, but I never had the nerve to say. Just in time this time. Based on their relationship with Gu Huayan, Xylan and Su Yuntang would definitely not refuse. They even called her auntie one after another, which made Gu's mother happy. Guzun would occasionally scratch his head and say, "The age gap between you doesn't seem to be that big. Isn't it appropriate to call you aunt? You should call me sister." Su Yuntang and Xylan. I had a headache at that time. Su Yuntang's mouth twitched and he tilted his head and said to Gu Huayan, "As expected of your brother. I feel like this kid will not be any weaker than Gu Huayan in terms of disgusting people when he grows up." Gu Huayan laughed and said nothing. When Guzun came here, he really came to heaven. He always liked to show off. During last summer vacation, after getting Pei Jingshu's personal V-letter, God knows how long he showed off to the people around him. To this day, I often say that I have a celebrity brother and a celebrity sister-in-law. Didn't I just catch up with a lot of people coming to look after Huayan this time? Almost all of them were well-known artists. He took a photo with everyone he saw. That night, Gu Huayan saw this kid posting several 9 palaces in his WeChat moments. This little bit of promise. Gu Huayan held his forehead silently, with a look of helplessness on his face. He didn't think his brother was embarrassed at all. There was nothing wrong with taking a photo together. You should do things according to your age. As a child, why don't you show off now until you are old? Because he was reading moments, Gu Huayan opened the V-letter, and the first time he clicked on it, he saw Pei Jingshu's V-letter. After all, it's a pinned chat. At this moment, I don't know why, but a very strong sadness emerged from my chest. It was already late at night, and Gu's mother chose to accompany him here. Then because she was in a hurry and didn't bring toiletries, Gu Huayan asked her assistant to take them to buy them. Because Sister Xylan's injury was not serious and Gu's mother was also here, she had no status to stay here to take care of Gu Huayan, so she went back first. Those who came back were the crew from Yunnan. On the crew side, Gu Huayan was temporarily unable to participate in the filming because he injured his hand. Without the male lead and the female lead unable to come, the crew would really be forced to stop filming. Before leaving, she was still very worried about Gu Huayan. She said that she would come over to see him after finishing the scenes for the past few days. Gu Huayan told her that there was nothing to do and she didn't need to come. She might not be able to find Gu Huayan when she came back. He really couldn't help it. "If I stay in this hospital any longer, I will be discharged early as long as I don't feel so dizzy." At this time, it's quiet at night. There was no one in the room. The pinned chat on the phone was still stuck on the content they had shared a few days ago. Pei Jingshu said that she would go to Magic City for an event next week and asked Gu Huayan if she could go. "If possible, we could meet." Gu Huayan said that the schedule was not suitable, and he could only be in the city recently. Flying back and forth between Hainan and Yunnan, Pei Jingshu was a little disappointed, but she understood. After all, she had just met last week, so she was not so anxious to meet. She was always so understanding. That chat record gave Gu Huayan the illusion that nothing had happened. But at this time, Gu Huayan no longer dared to send a message to Pei Jingshu. Because he knows very well that whenever he posts a message, he should be able to see the red exclamation mark. Cry? No. Gu Huayan didn't cry. It's just that the brightness of the phone is set too high, it's just a bit dazzling. At the same time, Magic City. In Pei Jingshu's apartment. Pei Jingshu, wearing a pink silk pajamas, was sitting in front of the makeup mirror in the cloakroom that was so luxurious that Gu Huiyan was surprised last time he came there. There are lights around the mirror, which reflect Pei Jingshu's beautiful face. It is very detailed and delicate. Even without makeup, that face can kill a group of female celebrities in an instant. It's just that there is no expression on that face at this time. Dumbly, stunned, there was no expression in his eyes that should be very lively. Just stupidly, staring at the string of bracelets placed in front of the mirror. They were couple bracelets she bought, one of which had been given to Gu Huiyan when he came here last time. Although she didn't give it to him personally, she felt very sweet when she thought of two people wearing the same bracelet. She is always easily satisfied. Although Gu Huiyan never gave her a gift, she never said anything. The same sense of unreality not only appeared in Gu Huiyan, she also had it. She has been sitting here blankly since she came back. She was still crying in the car and on the plane. When she got home, she stopped crying and just sat there stupidly. She still doesn't dare to think that all this is true. All right. The assistant was packing things outside, and Pei Ya came over and patted her shoulder gently, with distressed eyes. She did not choose to say sarcastic words at this time, because she knew very well that her sister was sad enough, and saying anything more would only make it worse. Of course, she would never say anything nice. When that bastard treated Pei Jingshu like this, she wished she could cut him into pieces. Pei Ya comforted her dull-looking sister and said, "I put off all the work for you in the past month. Let's find a place to take a good rest and relax. Just treat it like a vacation and get rid of it as soon as possible, anyway, just forget about it as soon as possible, eh?" Pei Jingshu didn't speak, but nodded blankly. She was still staring at the bracelet she had taken off on the table. "Stop looking." Pei Ya couldn't stand it any longer, so she snatched it away and threw it into the trash can. Then, Pei Jingshu actually turned her head and stared at the trash can. Snapped. Pei Ya held her forehead in silence, and had no choice but to take out the bracelet again, wipe it with a tissue, and seal it into a jewelry box for her. "Sister." Just then, an assistant called her outside, as if something was wrong. "I'll go for a minute." After talking to Pei Jingshu, Pei Ya went out to communicate with her assistant. Pei Jingshu was once again the only one left in the room. Without the bracelet, she stared at herself in the mirror. Her face was still so perfect, her eyes were bright and even, her nose bridge was high and straight, her skin was as white and tender as if it could be broken by a blow, her lips were rosy and shiny, and her hair was like a waterfall. Generally, it reflects light under the light, and the hair quality is excellent. Suddenly, Pei Jingshu saw a pair of scissors on the dressing table. It's quite normal to have scissors here. Makeup artists occasionally have to cut hair when doing styling, and the bags for packaging clothes also need to be cut with scissors. Those scissors are very sharp. By some strange coincidence, Pei Jingshu stretched out her jade hand and picked up the scissors. Pei Ya goes out. "How's it going?" When going out, the assistant must first ask Pei Jingshu how she was. In fact, they did not follow them to the hospital. They were too anxious at the time. Pei Jingshu was too worried about Gu Huiyan, so she took a taxi with Pei Ya and went there first, leaving them alone. Take care of things. They also never expected that Pei Jingshu would come back soon, and when she came back she was crying, and said, "Broke up." Until now, no one has explained to them the reason, and they dare not ask. They only know that Pei Jingshu is very sad. "It's okay, let's get busy first." Pei Ya waved her hands, obviously not intending to go into details. One of the assistants talked to Pei Ya about work, while the other assistant nodded and pushed the door into the cloakroom with clothes in hand to put clothes away. However, just as Pei Ya was listening to the assistant talking about work, she heard another assistant screaming from the room. "Ah! Sister Pei, what are you doing?" Pei Ya was stunned for a moment, then dropped her things and rushed into the cloakroom almost instantly. At that moment, she felt like her soul was about to fly out, for fear that Pei Jingshu would commit suicide in the room. In her state, this is not impossible. At that time, Pei Ya was scolding herself crazily in her mind. Why did she forget to put away all the sharp objects that Pei Jingshu looked at? Isn't this a sin? She rushed in almost like crazy. What makes her very fortunate is that Pei Jingshu did not commit suicide. But what she did also made Pei Ya extremely distressed. In front of the mirror, Pei Jingshu held a pair of scissors in her right hand, but in her left hand, a handful of beautiful black hair. But she saw that half of her waist-length hair had been cut off, and now only a little bit remained below her ears. It seems extremely inconsistent with the other half. But after making such a conflicting move, Pei Jingshu still had no expression on her face. She didn't cry or make a fuss, she just cut her hair blankly. Woo! Seeing this scene, not to mention Pei Ya, the two assistants couldn't stand it anymore, and they both cried with distress. It goes without saying that Pei Jingshu's hair is precious. Every time she goes to a beauty salon, she spends several hours on it. Every year, she is asked to endorse shampoo and conditioner ads alone. Her hair can be arranged from the beginning of the year to the end of the year. Her hair is famous not only among female celebrities, but also in domestic entertainment as a whole. Pei Ya knows this very well. Her younger sister's hair has always been a treasure since she was a child. It has always been black, long, and straight, and has never been permed or dyed. Every time the hairstylist trims it, she has to watch it personally, for fear of damaging it. And such precious hair. Now, Pei Jingshu used a pair of scissors to cut off nearly half of it. You say, can it not make people feel distressed? I'm going to find that bastard. Pei Ya couldn't bear it anymore. She threw away everything on her hands, gritted her teeth and rushed out of the door. She had really endured it for a long time. If she hadn't known that Pei Jingshu was sad enough and didn't want to make her worse, just her spit would have been enough to drown Gu Huiyan. At the moment when she saw her sister cutting off her hair, she really couldn't stand it no matter what. Sister, sister. Stop. The two assistants hurriedly stopped her and held her tightly. Why? Pei Ya was so angry that she cried and shouted. What did we do wrong? Why? It was probably because her sister's reaction was so exciting that even Pei Jingshu couldn't help but turn her head. She stood up and walked over, her figure thin and heart-wrenching. Sister, I'm fine. She didn't cry or make trouble, she just tried her best to put on a smile that wasn't very pretty and said, I just want to change my hairstyle and my mood. Her hair on the right side is still as long as before, but on the left side it is only a little below the ear. That look would make her look a little messy. Her face was pale, but she tried her best to smile, and even with the mess, even the bystanders couldn't help crying. Pei Ya rushed over and hugged her sister, but Pei Jingshu was still staring stupidly at the lock of hair she had cut off in her hand. The quality of the hair is so good, Pei Jingshu doesn't feel it so clearly when she doesn't hold it in her hands. So precious. Even if I sell it, I can probably sell it for at least several thousand yuan. She really couldn't bear to throw it away. But she slowly opened her palms. Let the hair in her hand begin to flow slowly from her hand one by one, fall down, and fall to the ground. Fall into a ball. It is like a ball of fire when gathered, but not a sky full of stars when scattered. The hair falling on the ground seems to have lost all its luster. Even though the light in the cloakroom is bright, it cannot illuminate even a single hair. Through. All thrown away. No more. Don't want any more. The hair that was cut off, and even if it could be put back, it would not grow back from scratch, so Pei Jingshu would throw it away no matter how reluctant she was to let it go. I just don't know why. When she lost it, her heart. It hurts. It hurts, almost suffocating. She slowly closed her eyes, and at that moment, tears filled her eyes unsatisfactorily. She did not deny that the moment she got the scissors, she really wanted to never open her eyes again. And one thing she wanted to scold herself for was that what she was subconsciously thinking about at that time was how would that bastard feel if she did that? How much will he blame himself and how sad he will be? What prompted her not to do that was the culprit. She is really, very unsatisfied. That night, Pei Jingshu's blog was like dynamite, blowing up the entire domestic entertainment industry. It was on the hot search list on various platforms for nearly half a month, and then triggered a storm that was close to a landslide. There are no pictures or complicated and exaggerated copywriting, just a simple sentence. We broke up. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Participating in a love show, this little guy is too down to earth. Author, Buletin Shi Swan Shi Shui Xian. Chapter 302. Ever since Pei Jingshu's Weibo was posted, the reactions of countless netizens and fans have been like the above string of question marks. Confused. Because it was really shocking and unbelievable, and they couldn't imagine why Pei Jingshu and Gu Huiyan suddenly broke up, so many people didn't even know how to ask why for a while. Just confused. And after reacting. No, this. Why? What happened? Sister Pei, are you sure you didn't send it wrong? I once suspected that I had seen the wrong person, but this is really Sister Pei. Is this horse riding real? Unbelievable, unbelievable, incredible. No one expected that Pei Jingshu would suddenly announce her breakup with Gu Huiyan at this time. To know. They, Pei Ban takes care of CP, are recognized as the sweetest and strongest couple on the internet, and they are also the reason why countless netizens still believe in love. Obviously less than half a month ago, they were still spreading sweets on the Hello Life Partner program, eating together, going to the sea together, and singing You Will Marry Me Today together. I wish I could give it to you. All the teeth are missing. Obviously just a few days ago, Gu Huiyan had just been in a car accident. The news that Pei Jingshu burst into tears at the airport that day was on the hot search. She even rushed to Guangzhou overnight to visit him. All this is still vivid in my mind. In the eyes of many people, Pei Jingshu should be taking care of the injured Gu Huiyan in the hospital now, and the two of them should be loving each other. No one can imagine how these two people could suddenly announce separate. At first, many people even suspected that Pei Jingshu sent it by mistake. I don't know how many fans immediately at Pei Jingshu in the comment area, or directly sent her private messages to ask her if she sent it by mistake. Some even said, Sister Pei, have you been threatened by someone? If you are threatened, just blink. They tried their best to make Pei Jingshu say that this incident was false, that it was an unfounded incident, and even some netizens would rather it was Pei Ban taking care of CP, Gu Huiyan, and Pei Jingshu, who have recently become less popular, for the sake of publicity, rather than believe that it is true. Troubles. The noise gets bigger and bigger. Just like the wind blowing in Guangzhou Hospital that day, you always feel that it is strong enough, and you always hope that it will stop. But not only will it not stop, it will get bigger and bigger, blowing sand everywhere, and making the visibility of the air low, no matter how low it is. Hashtag Pei Jingshu unilaterally announced her breakup with Gu Huiyan. Hashtag. Just when the popularity of Gu Huiyan's car accident was beginning to subside, Pei Jingshu unilaterally announced the news of her breakup with Gu Huiyan, which became a hot search topic. It landed directly on the top of the hot search lists on major platforms. On this day, no one, no star, or the popularity of any entertainment event can crush this matter. More and more people are paying attention to this matter, and more people are confused and have questions. Some people started scolding Pei Jingshu. No, he just had a car accident and you're announcing your breakup now. Even if there are problems, we can't break up at this time. I don't blame people for not understanding. The main reason is that Gu Huiyan had a car accident a few days ago and the matter was quite big. Everyone on the internet knows that Gu Huiyan's reputation has always been excellent. Everyone thinks that even if they break up, it won't be a moral issue. So even if you want to announce your breakup, you can't announce it at this time. Announcing it now is like riding on the heat of Gu Huiyan's car accident. The main reason is that Gu Huiyan is still lying in the hospital. Even if the relationship breaks up, if you announce it at this time, you can't get over it no matter what, right? Don't you consider the patient's feelings? This feels very uncomfortable. The fans of Pei Jingshu's family are very competitive and have always been the leading presence in domestic entertainment. They will never accept anyone slandering Pei Jingshu. But this time, what was rare was that they didn't even speak for Pei Jingshu for a while. Mainly because she felt that the time when she announced her breakup was really inappropriate. But at the same time, there are also many people speculating on why Pei Jingshu suddenly announced her breakup with Gu Huiyan. There is no reason. It shouldn't be. So Pei Jingshu was still crying at the airport the night he had the car accident. How come it was like this after 2 or 3 days? What happened in the middle? Or did Pei Jingshu see something that she shouldn't have seen in the past few days? Online, some rumors started to appear. Do you think it has anything to do with Siren? Yeah. I think it's possible that Pei Jingshu saw Gu Huiyan and Xilan in the hospital. During Crystal Love season, I felt that Gu Huiyan and Xilan were unusual. The two of them were filming together in Yunnan recently. A friend of mine was also on the set and said that everyone knew that they were a couple on the set. Zun do fake do. Rumors are spread with just one mouth. Some people spread rumors with no real purpose, just to appear awesome and pretend to be awesome in front of netizens. But these rumors will become more and more evil. Gu Huiyan was with Xilan when he had a car accident. At that time, many people photographed them riding in the same car, and many people photographed Xilan smashing the paparazzi's car. But because the news about Gu Huiyan's life and death in a car accident was so overwhelming, the heat on this matter was suppressed. But just because the popularity is suppressed, it doesn't mean that no one pays attention. Now, Pei Jingshu unilaterally announced her breakup with Gu Huiyan, and netizens naturally revealed what happened before. From this, all kinds of rumors started to spread. Talking about Gu Huiyan and Xilan's husband and wife. What did Gu Huiyan and Xilan do in the hospital that Pei Jingshu discovered? Talking about Gu Huiyan and Xilan. In short, there is anything to say. Reduce them to nothing. Said them to be a couple, a man and a woman? It's quite ugly to say that the classic saying "it's so chaotic in your circle" has resurfaced again. The funniest thing is that some people started to attack Xilan, saying that they had long disliked her and so on. You will find a very funny thing, that is, an artist is usually full of compliments. Once something goes wrong, a large group of dogs will appear in the comment area and say, "I have seen what happened to him." There is no doubt that they are all sailors, each one counts as one. They also have a purpose in doing this. Just like smearing Shang Zuoyan before, if they push her down, her resources will naturally be dispersed to others. As a red carpet goddess, the resources that Xilan has access to are the type that truly make countless female celebrities in the domestic entertainment industry jealous. The matter continued to ferment. Without any evidence, a group of people spread rumors on the internet. Slowly, the war spread to the actor Su. Someone below the comment section of Su Yuntang's Weibo said, "Brother, I feel so sorry for you. The boulevard you long for is already muddy." Everyone on the internet knows that the best actor Soo Yoon-tang likes Xylin, so now that Xylin has been rumored and has done so many things, naturally many people will feel sorry for Soo Yoon-tang. In the past, actor Soo has never responded to similar news, even if he was said to be NTR during Crystal Love season. On the one hand, he doesn't pay much attention to online news. He is a professional actor and likes to keep the actor's mystery and preserve himself. On the other hand, it is also because he knows that it is useless to say many things by himself. In today's world where the Navy controls everything, it is useless to say more. But this time, seeing the news spreading rumors about Xylin and Gu Huiyan, Soo Yoon-tang really couldn't hold it back. He rarely sent a text update, saying, "I know who Siren is, better than any of you. I don't need you to tell me who she is." Although there is no emotion in this sentence, just by reading the words, anyone can feel the anger of the actor Soo. Many fans are naturally supportive, but even so, they still can't stop those dogs who talk without responsibility. They did not argue with the actor Soo, but said, "You know who Xylin is. Does that mean you don't know who Gu Huiyan is? So brother, are you hinting at something? I have long said that Gu Huiyan is not upright. Facts have proved that celebrities really cannot talk nonsense. As long as they cannot be tight, they should not make any remarks. Isn't this?" One sentence of the best actor Soo was successfully misinterpreted by others. He only said that he knew Xylin, but did not say that he knew Gu Huiyan, so he was said to be hinting, and then many people began to turn the war on Gu Huiyan, who was still lying in the hospital, for the first time in a real sense. This. Soo Yoon-tang was dumbfounded at that time. What was this? How could it be that he was leading the war to Gu Huiyan? He originally wanted to post another update to explain, but the agency called him and said that the matter was hotly searched, so he had better not speak for now. This is when public opinion is at its peak, and anything you say can easily be criticized. Misinterpretation. If the meaning is distorted again, you will really be trapped and unable to get out. Don't mess with other people's affairs for a long time and drag you, a pure dear person, into trouble. Well. Soo Yoon-tang sighed and thought silently that he really felt sorry for Gu Huiyan this time. What he didn't expect was that his failure to respond would intensify the group's attack on Gu Huiyan. Everyone was saying that Soo Yoon-tang was hinting at what Gu Huiyan was doing. If Soo Yoon-tang didn't respond, some people said that he acquiesced, and then some people started to repeat old scores. He said that Gu Huiyan had no quality in the past. He used to participate in programs that were nothing but fried cow dung and badly displayed. At one point they were all pulled out. The matter became so heated that Xylin's agency and studio issued statements to clarify the situation, and warned some people not to speak nonsense again. But the statement of the entertainment industry, one, is so silly, haha, it has no credibility for a long time. It can almost be said to be fart. Statements are always meant to slap someone in the face. So netizens didn't believe it at all and continued to spread rumors. Under such circumstances, Xylin seemed to be very sensible. She found some black fan leaders and some people who were buying trolls, and directly asked the company to go through legal procedures and take them to court. Notice. This is not as simple as handing Green Corps Han a warning, but a court summons in the true sense. In fact, many of the so-called lawyers' letters are just to scare people. Many people are very happy to see them posted on the internet. It is clear that he is just spreading rumors. Didn't a certain old artist say that? The person who wronged you knows better than you how wronged you are. Under normal circumstances, artists don't want to go to great lengths to litigate, so naturally they just send out green corpses to scare people. But Xylin did not do this. She directly chose to go through the legal process. She was not afraid of any trouble. She must make those who spread rumors pay the price. Come out next. The voices of those who spread rumors gradually became quieter. and it was at this time that Xilin's fans seemed to have finally been released. In the comment areas of various videos and entries, some people began to make comments. I just said that Xilin is not such a person. Always believe in solutions. There is a terrible thing called control and evaluation. In the comment area of a certain short video software, boys and girls can see different comments. Not to mention the trend in the comment area when asking questions. This era is scary. It's scary because it can brainwash you and influence your thoughts. You can think whatever you want to think. So people should still have some ability to think independently. Otherwise, you don't want to be a wallflower. If you become weak, you will be blown around with a hairdryer. Although Xilin took Hisa to court and temporarily calmed down some of the tension between her and Gu Huiyan, there are still endless theories about the reason for the breakup of Gu Huiyan and Pei Jingshu. Although there are many things to say, the interesting thing is that almost everyone subconsciously feels that Gu Huiyan is sorry for Pei Jingshu. There is no way, because the image of Pei Jingshu's love brain is too deeply rooted in the hearts of the people. She has never been the type to be suspected. And just when Xilin's rhythm had just calmed down, another shocking news has been revealed on the internet. Someone said, the reason why Gu Huiyan and Pei Jingshu broke up may be because of Shang Xuoyan. There is no airtight wall in the world. Some people will always see some clues about Gu Huiyan and Shang Xuoyan, some people will fabricate it, and some people will truly find it. Evidence. About 5 or 6 days after Pei Jingshu unilaterally announced her breakup with Gu Huiyan, and just when Xilin's lawsuit against Hisa in court had calmed down a bit, paparazzi broke the news that Gu Huiyan had a private meeting with Charlene in the hotel at the beginning of this year. That's right. This matter can be traced back to the original incident of exposing a certain three-character man as a top star. At the end of the new year, there were paparazzi who were going to expose information about Gu Huiyan, and they all warned me. But then he was slapped in the face. Gu Huiyan came out of the hotel with a male friend, which caused a burst of laughter. Everyone didn't take it seriously and even went to laugh at the paparazzi studio. But then, the paparazzi who took the lead felt that something was not right, so he later checked the celebrities who were in Quancheng during that time. The city where Gu Huiyan's hometown is located is a second and third tier city, so there are not many celebrities who usually go there, especially during the New Year period. Most celebrities are concentrated in some first tier cities with New Year's Eve celebrations and rarely come here. Then check it out a little bit. Didn't you find Shang Xuoyan? During that time, she was probably the only young top artist who did not attend New Year's Eve and various parties. The hotel has her check-in record, and the most important thing is, her IP address at that time was in Quancheng. Okay. It is true that the paparazzi did not take any photos of her and Gu Huiyan together at that time, and Gu Huiyan was quite wary. But rumors never need proof. Just releasing these materials is enough for everyone to believe it, right? During the Chinese New Year, this studio was slapped in the face for trying to expose information about Gu Huiyan, and was ridiculed by peers and netizens for half a year. This is a direct two-level reversal. They were crazy about Gu Huiyan's information, and they were crazy about Gu Huiyan being with Shang Xuoyan at that time. As for why it's released now, because now is the right time. This is the case with many paparazzi entertainment studios. Even if they capture material, they often won't release it immediately because it has little value and won't cause much of a sensation. Only when something happens to this artist and is released at that time can it attract more attention. Then now is naturally the best time. Thus, the enthusiastic melon-eating people began to transfer the war from Xilin to Shang Xuoyan. I don't know how many people started saying in the comment areas of various related videos. I think the relationship between Gu Huiyan and Shang Xuoyan is quite unusual. Could it be that Pei Jingshu and Gu Huiyan broke up because of Shang Xuoyan? It must be. Why do you need to ask? I have a friend who works in the hospital where Guangzhou Gu Huiyan lives. She saw Shang Zuoyan going to the hospital that day. Zun du fake du. Someone began to discuss the topic of Shang Zuoyan's appearance on the day Gu Huiyan was hospitalized in a car accident. In fact, so far, no one has talked about Shang Zuoyan's appearance in the hospital, and this matter is not a secret. The paparazzi have very good noses. After Gu Huiyan's accident, he immediately appeared near the hospital to take photos. It was the paparazzi. Although Shang Zuoyan was covered up tightly when she went there, she was too anxious, so naturally someone would take a picture of her and recognize her. Because everyone's focus was not on Shang Zuoyan before, this matter didn't get heated much. Now that the war has spread, everyone focused their attention on Shang Zuoyan. Focus on what happened that day. Some people began to say that Gu Huiyan and Shang Zuoyan had always been close, but they had never been embarrassed to say it, especially on the show. They felt they were a bit too close. Some program clips began to be mentioned, such as Shang Zuoyan saying in the car that she hated the song The Name Engraved in My Heart by Gu Huiyan, also such as the connotation of her saying I don't want to be an artist anymore at that time, and even more such as her because the thing about Gu Huiyan jumping into the sea and breaking the defense. These were all taken out as evidence that her relationship with Gu Huiyan was unclear. Some people also began to say that Gu Huiyan had always been in two boats, and this time he was discovered by Pei Jingshu accidentally. Anyway, the overwhelming curses began to drown Gu Huiyan. This, in the true sense, it's a storm. You see, how can I be round? I can't be round all day long, and I can't be round. What's the repeater? Participating in a love show, this little guy is too down to earth. Author, Buletin Shi Swan Shi Shui Xian. Chapter 303. Chapter 299 Breaking up should be decent, no one should say goodbye. Shang Zuoyan has been in quite a miserable state recently. Because he was involved in the breakup incident between Gu Huiyan and Pei Jingshu, he received a series of crazy abuses from the Pei Ban Takes Care of CP fans. Probably everyone thought that it was her becoming the third party that caused Gu Huiyan and Pei Jingshu to break up. But her company and team did not give any decent explanation at all during the few days that the incident unfolded. Not even a symbolic statement. It seems that I want to treat it coldly. It's quite normal. In today's fast-paced society, things related to celebrities and artists will be forgotten in a short time. It would be better not to talk about it, like the actor Su Yuntang, but it will be self-defeating. Just this matter. It seems that it can't be solved by just treating it coldly. The group that had not brought down Charlene Shang before had seized the opportunity this time, adding fuel to the madness and driving Charlene Shang to a crazy pace. As a result, several recent endorsements by Charlene Shang had to be temporarily postponed. Correspondingly, other aspects of work have also been affected. Among them, the broadcast of a variety show this week was forced to be delayed, and online rumors said that all her clips would be cut and rebroadcast. This makes Shang Zuoyan, who finally got over last year's turmoil, at risk of falling back again. Normally, Gu Huiyan would probably care about her, but now Gu Huiyan has no time for him to care about her. At the beginning of the turmoil, Gu Huiyan was still stable. After all, he had always had a good reputation and his works were popular, so his work was basically not affected. But as the storm gets bigger and bigger, some manufacturers have also begun to contact and say that they want to postpone or temporarily suspend cooperation, etc. Originally, some partners had a wait-and-see attitude, wanting to see how Gu Huiyan and his company planned to handle this matter. If it was handled well, everyone would be happy. If it was not handled well, the cooperation would be terminated depending on the situation. After all, Gu Huiyan's boss is famous for his public relations skills. But who knows? When faced with this matter, when the public opinion was fermenting extremely crazy, and even under the hot search for nearly half a month, Gu Huiyan, his team, his agency, his boss, and everyone. There is no explanation. Even like Shang's Woyan, there is no symbolic statement to the outside world. Nothing at all. Cold treatment? Probably. In short, at present, Gu Huiyan gave them all the feeling that they should handle this matter coldly. This directly led to some partners who had a wait-and-see attitude. Seeing Gu Huiyan's building collapse, they could no longer afford to take the risk and chose to negotiate with Gu Huiyan to terminate the contract. Just a few days after that, many website logos, shopping mall pictures, photos, etc. that were originally endorsed by Gu Huiyan were basically downloaded. This matter has even been on the hot search. No one expected that Gu Huiyan's house collapsed, and it collapsed. So thorough. Do you think there are any who have not terminated their contracts? There are two. Several well-known brands did not choose to terminate their contracts with Gu Huiyan, and some even wanted to renew their contracts. After all, Gu Huiyan's matter was simply a relationship issue, and he had not committed any principled issues, and he would not be banned. Such a talented original singer will be able to make a comeback sooner or later. They are more discerning. But in fact, even Gu Huiyan himself doesn't know if he can make a comeback, or when can we make a comeback? It is worth mentioning that Gu Huiyan lost followers. For example, Douyin's platform account originally had more than 8 million followers, but it lost nearly 400,000 followers in half a month. Did you lose a lot? Not much actually. But many of them are active fans. One thing that must be mentioned here is that many of the followers of celebrity artists on various platforms are zombie fans. For example, Gu Huiyan, who has 7 to 8 million followers, is only able to fight and is willing to fight. Come to 10,000. Don't underestimate this ratio, it's already very good. If you look at those internet celebrities, there are very few who claim to have tens of millions of fans following them in their live broadcast rooms. The vast majority of people pay attention with the mentality of just eating melons and passers-by. And when the house collapsed, it fell. Can all? Yes. Real? Pink. Ah. Those people are the kind who will really speak to you and do anything for you without hesitation when you need them. If you really rely on fans to make a living, you must not offend them, let alone say nonsense like you can't afford it and you have to blame yourself. Don't fall in love with someone you shouldn't date. Otherwise the consequences will be really serious. Gu Huiyan has already figured it out. He has a lot of fans, most of whom are fans and CP fans taken care of by Payban. In fact, most of this wave of fans are CP fans, which is self-evident. Did you say that anyone spoke for Gu Huiyan? There are also. Occasionally. There will also be fans of Gu Huiyan who will comment on Pei Jingshu's posts and just want to say, "Can't we break up with dignity? It has to be like this." They didn't know it, so they naturally felt sorry for Gu Huiyan. However, this situation was reversed again with a hot search at the end of the month. Hashtag Pei Jingshu has short hair. Hashtag. The storm has been fermenting for nearly half a month, and new ingredients are exposed every day, and there are new melons to eat every day. However, Pei Jingshu and Gu Huiyan, the real owners, did not respond to Pei Jingshu's Weibo post and almost never appeared. So when many people look back on the past half month, they feel that the fuss was too big. It was obviously just a breakup news, and the owner didn't say anything. How come both parties were attacked like this? The comments on the internet are somewhat exaggerated and contain rumors. But when Pei Jingshu appeared at the Shanghai airport that day with short hair, many people have really broken their defenses. To be honest, Pei Jingshu was really distressed. She felt that she was already dressed simply enough and no longer looked like a female star in any way. She even wore a piece from her assistant that she bought on a certain store. Very cheap clothes. I also wore a mask, sunglasses, and a hat. Even when I went to the airport, I was separated from my sister and assistant. The purpose is not to let others recognize her. But I don't know why, it's always. Someone will always recognize her. People will recognize you wherever you go. No matter what she wears, someone will recognize her. Even with short hair, people can recognize it. That was the first time that she felt that being good-looking was a very distressing thing. The storm had been brewing for more than half a month. After attacking Xylan, a group of people attacked Shangzuoyan, then Gu Huiyan, and even the actor Su was implicated. Occasionally, someone always says, is it really appropriate for Pei Jingshu to take up so many public resources by herself? Did she also make too much of a fuss? Isn't it just a breakup? Your Pei Ban takes care of CP is known to the whole internet. It was so sweet at the beginning. No matter what, the breakup should at least be decent, right? Look at the people who were attacked and implicated. Many of them are innocent. All the things that have happened in the past half-month have made many fans unable to stand it. But when they saw Pei Jingshu, who had a short haircut, a haggard face, and red and swollen circles around her eyes, it looked like she had just cried. The words of complaint were never said out loud after all. And when they saw her, whether they saw her live at the airport or through videos and pictures online, almost everyone felt a sense of sincerely sad and distressed. It makes the tip of my nose sore and makes me want to cry. Since her debut, Pei Jingshu has left an indelible image of Bai Yueguang in the hearts of many viewers with her beautiful black hair. The hair is of good quality, and with Pei Jingshu's temperament and that picture, it can be called her pretty face goes well with her. No one has ever seen Pei Jingshu permed or dyed, and she has never been seen wearing exaggerated looks even on grand occasions. Marketing accounts often say that Pei Jingshu spends several hours maintaining her hair when she goes to a beauty salon. And such a beautiful head of hair is now cut off at the waist. Just looking at the disappearing hair makes many people feel distressed enough. From her debut to now, no one has ever seen Pei Jingshu with short hair, but now she has just cut her hair short. Not to mention, she looked haggard and her eyes were red and swollen. Even though she is like that, she is still incredibly beautiful, but she makes people feel weak, distressed, and pale. Some people say that there is no light in Pei Jingshu's eyes. Her watery eyes seem to be always shining, especially during the relationship. You will feel that her whole person is in good condition, as if she is being nourished. But now, those eyes seem to have completely dimmed, and she would occasionally be in a daze. She occasionally couldn't hear the staff calling her, and she looked particularly dull. She looks really sad. In fact, it's not just her eyes that have no light, many people who believe in love because of them also have no light in their eyes. Someone said at the beginning that Pei Ban takes care of CP is the only reason for them to believe in love. But now that they have broken up, in their eyes, there is no real love in the entertainment industry, and it will not exist in this world. Any form of in love. Woo, Sister Pei. When seeing Pei Jingshu like this, even those who wanted to say that her breakup was dishonorable were unable to speak anyway. Pei Jingshu's look seemed to explain to everyone how bruised she was in this relationship. She is just an ordinary girl who was hurt and haggard due to a breakup. Everyone knows that she has a soft heart, and everyone knows that she has a love brain. If she wasn't really hurt, how could she be willing to hurt so many people? Speaking of love brain, in recent days there has been a group of people on the internet making articles about love brain and saying, love brains have never had a good ending since ancient times. Look at how many years Baoquan has been digging wild vegetables. I told you a long time ago that you are in love but you didn't listen. In short, they are a group of people who hate iron but cannot make steel. Said that Pei Jingshu should have listened to them long ago. Of course, most of all, she felt heartbroken for Pei Jingshu. Also because of their distress, more and more people began to scold Gu Huiyan. Because he did not respond to the news about Shang Zuoyan, the rumors about Gu Huiyan and Shang Zuoyan became more and more fierce. In addition, Pei Jingshu's haggard appearance made people more certain that the breakup was Gu Huiyan's responsibility. Therefore, Gu Huiyan has been very aggressive recently. Some even scolded him and said, "Get out of the entertainment industry. You don't deserve to be a star." Half a month ago, Gu Huiyan, a superstar, was worried by the whole network because he had a car accident. Half a month later, Gu Huiyan was a treacherous villain whom everyone called a loser. He had to sneak out with an ambulance in the middle of the night, otherwise he would be surrounded by entertainment reporters downstairs. He was a celebrity. That's right. Gu Huiyan lay in the hospital for half a month. In fact, just lying down for half a month is definitely not enough. Although his arm fracture is not serious, he hit his head and suffered a concussion. He needs to be observed for a month before deciding what to do. But Gu Huiyan really couldn't wait any longer. Downstairs of the hospital, there are all kinds of entertainment reporters, paparazzi, squatting photographers, proxy photographers, fans, dear people, and other people surrounding it every day. Gu Huiyan doesn't need to go down, but the assistant can go out to buy things. I was surrounded and asked, which was very troublesome. Every day in the ward, the curtains must be closed. The reason is very simple. Just like what Gu Huiyan told Gu's mother that day, there are really people holding SLRs on the mountains in the distance to secretly take photos of Gu Huiyan. Some of them climbed up the tree just to take a picture of Gu Huiyan. Gu Huiyan couldn't bear the feeling of being surveilled all the time, not to mention that he was not usually a person who could take time off, so he decisively chose to leave the hospital without feeling too dizzy. Of course, the reason why he was discharged from the hospital was not just because he couldn't stay any longer, but also because if he is not discharged from the hospital, the company will be in trouble. In fact, the company has been in trouble for a long time. Ever since the incident with Shang Zuoyan came to light a week ago, the company has been anxious to have a meeting with Gu Huiyan. Some senior officials plan to come directly to discuss countermeasures with Gu Huiyan in the ward. Fortunately, Ma Zhang stopped all this, otherwise it would be really difficult for Gu Huiyan to take a break these days. Speaking of Jiang's mother, she is also quite busy. Gu Huiyan can't go, but the program Hello Life Partner will continue. Jiang's mother is always very busy when she is with the group. How can she have time to stay there every day? Gu Huiyan here? But she still resolutely resisted the pressure on Gu Huiyan and refused to let the company bother him. Gu Huiyan has received this love, but he really can't go on like this. In the past half-month, the companies that compensated him for the termination fees for many endorsements and advertisements have been a headache. Maybe the compensation is not that much compared to the profit, but which capital company can you accept losing money? Everyone wants to make money, who wants to lose money? So after being discharged from the hospital and sending Gu's mother back, Gu Huiyan packed up and went to the capital. Speaking of Gu's mother, she has been taking care of her son for the past half-month. She often read news on the internet before. At first, she was emotional and wanted to question Gu Huiyan, but considering that he was still lying in the hospital bed, she felt distressed. Didn't ask. However, when she was on the phone with Gu Huiyan that day, the voice of Shang Zuoyan she heard still bothered her. In the past half-month, she would occasionally check the internet for news related to Shang Zuoyan. To be honest, Mother Gu doesn't like Shang Zuoyan very much. The elders are more conservative. A girl like Shang Zuoyan, with a bold personality and hot clothes, is not the type that the elders will like. Pei Jingshu's gentle oriental femininity, that's what the elders appreciate the most. So in fact, she occasionally wanted to scold Gu Huiyan. How could she cause problems with Shang Zuoyan and Pei Jingshu? He had 1,000 words to say, but when he saw Gu Huiyan, who was occasionally in a daze, the mother finally didn't ask. In fact, Gu Huiyan's condition was average during this period. Although it didn't seem like anything, a mother would always notice the weirdness of her son. With so much pressure from online public opinion and various unsatisfactory work conditions, you bet Gu Huiyan was really interested. Was it so easy when you went up to argue with her? Farewell. Mother Gu just patted Gu Huiyan on the shoulder and said that she would quit working in the worst case and come back. Anyway, the money you make is enough for our family to eat and drink for the rest of our lives. Gu Huiyan smiled and said yes, and left in the car downstairs without even coming to the door. It's not that Gu Huiyan doesn't want to stay longer, but there are some photographers and proxy photographers near his home. Many neighbors and relatives will come to visit him soon if they hear that he is back. He didn't want to cause trouble to his family. It is said that Guzun has been having conflicts with people in school recently. Some people said bad things about Gu Huiyan and he couldn't stand it, so he started to quarrel with his classmates. Fortunately, summer vacation was about to begin. Gu Huiyan told him to go out less during summer vacation and stop pretending to be with his classmates, otherwise it would be easy for problems to arise again. Even at his family's fried skewers shop, Gu Huiyan told Ma Gu to stay away and avoid the limelight recently. In short, Gu Huiyan realized for the first time the headaches of being an artist. I also understood what Shang Zuoyan said in Hello Life Partner. I don't want to be an artist anymore. When Gu Huiyan arrived in the capital, it was almost the end of June or the beginning of July. Summer vacation is approaching, and the recent weather can't be said to be particularly hot. It's not as hot as the dog days of summer. Even if you wear short-sleeved clothes and walk on the street to bask in the sun, you will still sweat. *U0026 amp, %UN #@ As soon as Gu Huiyan arrived at the company, he was invited to the conference room. After arriving, there was a loud noise. People were talking about everything, some were criticizing, some were trying to find solutions, and some were complaining. It seemed that Mother Jiang's flight was delayed, so she arrived a little late. After arriving, she took a lot of pressure off Gu Huiyan. Most people complained to Mother Jiang, asking her why she didn't make a statement for Gu Huiyan and why she didn't explain. Why not do public relations, why not wash? At least it's okay to give a symbolic response, and it won't cause a commotion like now, with everyone pushing down the wall. At this point, Gu Huiyan doesn't understand either. But I can vaguely guess something. And Gu Huiyan estimated that Zhang Ma should have countermeasures. But to be honest, Gu Huiyan doesn't know yet. Apart from treating it coldly, finding a low-key place to avoid the limelight, spending this time, and waiting for everyone to forget about it before going out for marketing. What other countermeasures are there?